Chapter 1229. 1229. Yi Mufan secretly relaxed when he saw there weren't any changes to Yi Wanwan's expression. If he spoke the truth, she would still beat him to death without any drinking involved. But this was fine. After so many years, Wanwan probably didn't remember the exact situation back then. So couldn't he make up the details however he wanted? Are you sure it was you who saved me? Yi Wanwan's eyes settled on Yi Mufan with a deep frown and dark expression on her face. Could it be that even this memory was mixed up? It wasn't Yi Mufan who pushed her into the water, and it was she who accidentally fell into the lime pond? However, Yi Mufan shuddered slightly when he saw Yi Wanwan's expression and hastily said, "And maybe actually, well, you can't blame me. Back then, we were both young. I accidentally pushed you inside." It wasn't until Yi Mufan said those words that Yi Wanwan's expression eased. It was identical to her memory. And then, Yi Wanwan asked, Then I saved you. Really? I swear." Yi Mufan snuck a peek at Yi Wanwan, feeling fairly guilty. "I remember we had a neighbor in the countryside. The neighbor didn't pay much attention when they first saw us playing by the lime pond. But then the next time they looked back, they discovered you were the only one left next to the lime pond, and I was missing. Isn't that what happened?" Yi Wanwan seriously looked at Yi Mufan. Yi Mufan trembled when he heard that and inwardly thought, Wanwan remembers everything to begin with. "I also remember that the neighbor asked you where I went when they noticed I was missing. How did you answer?" Yi Mufan's lips slightly twitched. He had no choice but to tell the truth. "Our neighbor in the countryside asked me where you went after you disappeared in the blink of an eye. I was still young and couldn't utter a single word out of panic. Thankfully, you were still struggling inside the lime pond and popped your head out. Our neighbor instantly went to look for Mom in fright. As soon as Mom came over, she grabbed you by your hair and pulled you out of the lime pond." Yi Mufan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Yi Wanwan was somewhat speechless. This useless troublemaker. Thank goodness their neighbor arrived in time, or else. However, both she and Yi Mufan were young back then. Yi Mufan also suffered a huge fright and lost all composure after accidentally pushing her into the lime pond. So Yi Wanwan didn't truly blame him. We lived quite a long time in the countryside, so this shouldn't be the only thing that happened, right? Yi Wanwan continued to ask. In her memories, she went to experience life in the countryside with her parents, but this was the only thing she remembered. Theirs isn't. That's really all. Yi Mufan frantically nodded with a ghastly expression. "Oh." Yi Wanwan sardonically looked at him. "Is that really all?" Instantly Yi Mufan looked miserable. "Sister, what do you want?" "That time, I said I wanted to be a doctor, so I filled a syringe with water and poked your shoulder. It was just a prick. You screamed like a dying pig. I also didn't end up well, and our parents hung me up in a tree and gave me a thorough beating. Although the needle jabbed into your arm, it was really nothing compared to my thrashing from our parents, right?" Yi Wanwan fell into a deep contemplation at Yi Mufan's words. She couldn't recall this story at all. Chapter 1230. Yi Mufan looked at Yi Wanwan and suddenly smiled. "Sister, although it was always me who bullied you when we were young, brother spoiled you so much when we grew up. Back when you were in junior high, you liked that guy in your class. What's his name again? Oh, right, Liailuan. You gave him a love letter, but I came across it. Didn't I keep it a secret from our parents? If I told our parents back then, you should know the consequences you would have faced." A hurricane surged inside Yi Wanwan's mind when she heard Yi Mufan. She didn't remember any of this. "You told me not to tell anyone. I haven't told a single soul. I swear." Yi Mufan vehemently swore. "Is that so?" Yi Wanwan tried her best to conceal her panic. "Of course. Back then, you kept calling Brother Ailuan, Brother Ailuan. You called him so much more affectionately than you did with me. I confiscated that love letter and it's inside my room. I've kept it until now." Yi Mufan teased with a smile. "Where's the love letter?" Yi Wanwan immediately asked. "Didn't I say? It's at home inside my room," Yi Mufan answered. "Okay." Yi Wanwan nodded and stood up. "Let's go home." Hold on. Why are we going home? I still have work." Yi Mufan instantly objected. "Get the love letter." Yi Wanwan didn't give Yi Mufan time to resist and grabbed his arms. Soon, Yi Wanwan and Yi Mufan drove to the Yi home. Although Yi Mufan found Yi Wanwan's weirdness today a bit odd, he didn't think too deeply about it. She was a girl, after all. They were always mercurial like this. Inside Yi Mufan's room, Yi Wanwan watched him searching his room everywhere and asked, "Did you find it?" "Hold on. Weird, I remember it should be here," Yi Mufan mumbled. Finally, half an hour later, Yi Mufan found an ancient-looking envelope from under his bed. The envelope was blue with 2 butterflies drawn on it, and looked like it was from a different decade. It was covered in dust though. Yi Mufan slapped off the dust on the envelope and looked at Yi Wanwan. He dangled and waved the blue envelope in front of Yi Wanwan and said with interest, "Sister, say, if I handed this to your current boyfriend." He immediately swallowed his following words after a glare from Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan took the envelope and impatiently opened it. The contents of the letter were so unfamiliar. She didn't have any memory of it. As for that supposed classmate from junior high, Li Ailuan, Yi Wanwan also didn't remember him at all. If he was really her first crush, most people would remember him for the rest of their lives. But it was as though this fragment of memory never existed. If she really wasn't Yi Wanwan, and had merely been injected with Yi Wanwan's memory through deep hypnosis, everything would make sense. Si Yihan couldn't possibly know everything about Yi Wanwan, especially this love letter. Yi Wanwan hadn't handed this letter out because Yi Mufan had stumbled onto it, and this young crush ended just like that. Only Yi Mufan and Yi Wanwan knew about this matter. No matter how capable Si Yihan was, he couldn't have known about this matter. Since he didn't know about it, then this memory fragment naturally couldn't be injected into her mind and become a part of her memory. After Yi Wanwan finished reading this love letter that was snipped in the bud, she tried to steady her mind. Yi Wanwan could guarantee with absolute certainty that it wasn't her who wrote this letter. Every character, even the punctuation, had nothing to do with her. Chapter 1231. 1231. Almost in an instant, the contents of the CDs in the C family's library re-emerged in Yi Wanwan's thoughts. Could it be that the contents of the video were recordings of real events? Was the woman on the bed in that laboratory really her? Her memory had originally been empty, so she couldn't possibly be Yi Wanwan. Many years ago, Yi Wanwan died in a horrifying assassination overseas, and she became Yi Wanwan because Si Yihan forcibly transferred Yi Wanwan's memories into her brain. But if she wasn't Yi Wanwan, who exactly was she? And why did Si Yihan want to erase her original memories and forcibly input Yi Wanwan's memories? What exactly was her previous relationship with Si Yihan? Were they enemies? Or was everything a scheme of Si Yihan's? Why did he have to treat her like this? And what exactly were Si Yihan's motives? In a moment, Yi Wanwan's head was on the verge of breaking. She not only couldn't believe, but she couldn't accept that Si Yihan actually erased her original memories, causing her to forcibly become another person. Wanwan. At that moment, Yi Mufan could tell Yi Wanwan wasn't normal. He knit his brows with worry and lightly asked if she was all right. Yi Mufan walked over to her when he saw she wasn't replying and gently tapped on Yi Wanwan's shoulder with his right hand. Yi Mufan's hand didn't even settle on her shoulder before Yi Wanwan grabbed his arm and went into a defensive stance. "It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. My arm is going to break." Yi Mufan let out a cry. At that moment, Yi Wanwan returned back to her senses and quickly let go of his hand. "Younger sister, did you have to do that? If it wasn't for me who dealt with all those trash love letters, would you even be able to have such a handsome man right now? Even if you don't want to thank me, you don't have to hate me so much that you have to hurt me. Where's the logic in that?" Yi Mufan rubbed his right arm with his left hand as he said this. Yi Mufan continued without waiting for Yi Wanwan to reply. "However, aren't you too dramatic? Since when did you become so violent?" Yi Mufan stared at Yi Wanwan. Being violent wasn't the scary part. What was scary was the strength Yi Wanwan displayed, and the ability to use that strength against him. "Younger sister, aren't you defying the laws of science too much? You only learned Taekwondo for a short while, yet you're already this powerful? I think even those so-called masters can't match up to you, especially when you get drunk," Yi Mufan said. Yi Mufan's words caused Yi Wanwan to become sensitive. What am I like after I get drunk? Hearing Yi Wanwan's question made Yi Mufan laugh dryly. Before drinking, you're my younger sister. And after drinking? Yi Wanwan asked. After drinking? Yi Mufan smirked. After drinking, you're my ancestor. Yi Wanwan. After drinking with one punch, you can break heavy metal. Once you see anyone good-looking, then you'll go flirt. It feels as though you've become another person, Yi Mufan said, seemingly helpless about the matter. Become another person. Yi Wanwan went deep into thought. Originally, Yi Wanwan thought that her fighting abilities were innate and possibly because she might be a genius in martial arts. However now, it seemed as though she had only learned Taekwondo for a short amount of time. If she followed common sense like Yi Mufan mentioned, she shouldn't possess such incredible fighting capabilities where even so-called masters and top fighters of Taekwondo weren't worthy opponents. Chapter 1232. 1232. Although Yi Wanwan was filled with self-confidence, she also knew her limits. She had only trained in Taekwondo for a short while, and during this period of time, the potential she exhibited wasn't that great. Moreover, a person's potential for the martial arts was one thing while fitness quality was another. No matter how high her potential for martial arts was, even if she could learn everything in a short amount of time, her body still needed to train for many years in order to have the necessary fitness level to match. It was like what Yi Mufan and everyone had been saying. Once she got drunk, a single punch could heavily dent a car. Pure, brute strength was needed in order to accomplish such a feat. Yi Wanwan knew better than anyone what she was, and was not capable of. Even if she set aside how she never trained before, normal people couldn't even break metal after training for decades. If she truly wasn't Yi Wanwan and all her memories were forcibly inputted by Si Yihan, then the abnormal power and godlike fighting capability should belong to her original self before her memories were erased. If she truly wasn't Yi Wanwan, then her martial arts ability which came out of nowhere could be explained. Everything belonged to her original self. Then, if she lost all her memories to become Yi Wanwan who had nothing to do with her, who am I then? Yi Wanwan trembled, her eyes lost with confusion. What do you mean who you are? Yi Mufan stared at Yi Mufan with an incredulous expression. The phone suddenly rang before he could hear Yi Wanwan's reply. Yi Wanwan glanced at the caller ID. It was a call from Nameless Nya. Afterward, Yi Wanwan picked up the call. Hello. Nameless Nya's voice resounded from the phone. What is it? Yi Wanwan asked. Hello. What did you say? My signal isn't good here. Come to the Yong'an food stall. See you in half an hour. Without waiting for Yi Wanwan's reply, Nameless Nya directly ended the call. The Yong'an food stall Nameless Nya mentioned was the food stall where Yi Wanwan first met Nameless Nya and his group of 5. Who was it? Yi Mufan asked. A friend. Yi Wanwan glanced at Yi Mufan and said, a friend is looking for me. I'm going to leave first. When Yi Mufan heard this, he nodded. Go. There are still some things I need to do, so I won't tag along. Yi Wanwan. I never wanted you to come with me. Yong'an food stall. Boss, give me a private room. Devotee walked carefree into the food stall, and said this to the owner who appeared rather familiar. Okay. The owner glanced towards Devotee, and this one glance caused the food stall owner to be dumbfounded. He could recognize these people even if their bodies decayed beyond recognition. Back then, they caused a stir in his store when they ate and drank and didn't pay a single cent. You have money? The food stall owner asked Devotee. What do you mean have money when I've never lacked money? Afterwards, Devotee took out 2 $50 bills from his pocket. Boss, give us food equivalent to this amount. How many people do you have? The owner accepted the money as he asked this. 6 people, the Taoist devotee replied. Once he said that, he turned and walked into the private room, leaving the dumbfounded food stall owner to stare at the 2 $50 bills. Inside the private room, the Taoist devotee, Spray of Flowers, and several others were all sitting down. Where are the captain and the bloody stutterer? Why aren't they here yet? Spray of Flowers asked the Taoist devotee, and the beautiful iceberg man. Chapter 1233 Iceberg Man sat underneath the air conditioner, enjoying the cool air. He didn't look back. He had no desire to speak. How should I know? Devotee pursed his lips. Captain went to book plane tickets. If the bloody stutterer doesn't want to leave, let him stay here and enjoy his life. Just as he finished speaking, muffled footsteps came from outside the door, and Feng Shuani entered the room in the next second. Where's the captain? Feng Shuani plopped down on the chair with a popsicle in his hand, and his eyes swept over the group. He went to book the plane tickets, so he's not here yet, Devotee answered. Feng Shuani nodded and chuckled. Hey, Captain is so generous this time. He actually remembered to book plane tickets for our return trip. Brick-moving foreigner looked at Feng Shuani and mischievously laughed. I'm excited just thinking about it. We nearly drowned on the boat ride here. Captain, does he have money to book the plane tickets? Feng Shuani took a bite of his popsicle and asked curiously. The other four people's eyes immediately landed on Feng Shuani. Captain doesn't have the money, but you have the money. He's booking the plane ticket with your pay from the Sea family, Devotee said. What did you say? Feng Shuani instantly shot up from his chair. This was his hard-earned money that he obtained through great tribulations and hard work after working as a hidden guard at the Sea family for so freaking long. Captain deceived him and claimed he would save it for him. It wasn't like he had any use for money normally as a hidden guard in the Sea family. He never thought. He freaking used all of his hard-earned money to book plane tickets. That's right, bloody stutterer. How much money did you earn in total as a hidden guard in the Sea family? Brick-moving foreigner asked with curiosity. The return plane tickets weren't cheap at all, and Captain even said he was going to book first-class tickets. An ordinary hidden guard earns $15,000 every month. A hidden guard captain earns $50,000 every month. Feng Shuani muttered. Shit, $50,000? Devotee nearly jumped up. He strenuously told people's fortunes and read people's palms outside every day and endured the cold air and blazing sun. But he never earned more than $100 each day. Sometimes he wouldn't have any business all day. So in a month, he typically earned $800 to $900, and if he was lucky, $1,000 to $2,000 sometimes. But freaking Feng Shuani. As an ordinary hidden guard in the Sea family, he could just chat and play some cards with the other guards when there was nothing to do and earn $15,000 every month. After becoming a hidden guard captain, he just had to sit in his office and do nothing and would earn $50,000 every month. How much money did you give to Captain? Spray of Flowers asked while looking at Feng Shuani. Captain freaking swindled a year's worth of wages from me. Feng Shuani took out his notebook and carefully read it. A moment later, he looked up miserably at Devotee and Spray of Flowers. This year's worth of wages was $400,000. I only spend a couple thousand myself in a freaking year. Forget about the money. From here to the independent state, we have to transfer a few planes and also take a cruise. Captain booked first class for all of it and the luxurious package for the cruise, Devotee said with a smile. Feng Shuani took a deep breath and suppressed his urge to beat these four people to death. Were they telling him that all of his hard-earned money this year was spent on them? A moment later, Feng Shuani lit a cigarette and regained his calm expression. Let's talk business. Both Devotee and Spray of Flowers were taken back when they heard that. What business was there anymore? Chapter 1234. 1234. I hid in the Sea family for more than a year, and can nearly confirm that Miss Wanwan and Second Miss have an inseparable connection. It's possible that Yi Wanwan is Second Miss herself, Feng Shuani said as he swept his eyes over the four people. Don't talk nonsense. Devotee shook his head. Bloody stutterer, you probably don't know that Second Miss has been found already. Feng Shuani's brows furrowed. Miss Worryless has been found. Of course she's found. Otherwise, why would Captain book tickets for all of us to go back? Spray of Flowers nodded with certainty. Is that so? An inexplicable glint surfaced in Feng Shuani's eyes. He had hidden inside the Sea family for more than a year all, because Yi Wanwan was there. Although Feng Shuani didn't know much about Worryless Nya, there was a large possibility that Yi Wanwan was Worryless Nya based on the information he obtained from the Nya family. Feng Shuani wasn't sure about it at first, But Yi Wanwan's drunken state last time strengthened his guess that Yi Wanwan was worryless Nia. There was only one thing Feng Shuani couldn't understand. If Yi Wanwan was the Nia family's second miss, worryless Nia, why did she completely forget everything and take on Yi Wanwan's identity? Also, Feng Shuani investigated Yi Wanwan's past once, and there wasn't a single hole in her background or identity. It wasn't until the Si family's patriarch, Si Yihan, disappeared and Feng Shuani entered Si Yihan's study to investigate, accidentally saw the briefcase labeled YWW, and found that astonishing CD that the entire truth was revealed. Yi Wanwan's true identity had to be worryless Nia. However, she was forcefully erased of worryless Nia's memory and infused with Yi Wanwan's memory through deep hypnosis by people hired by Si Yihan. Then this would explain why worryless Nia appeared to be using Yi Wanwan's identity and forgot all about her identity as worryless Nia, and couldn't even recognize her real brother, nameless Nia. At first, nameless Nia hypothesized that his sister, worryless Nia, eloped and left with some wild man. Whether Si Yihan was that wild man or not, it didn't escape him. As for why Si Yihan had to erase worryless Nia's memory and turn her into Yi Wanwan, Feng Shuani was still unable to figure out. Second miss is finally found. Our bitter days are finally coming to an end, thank goodness. Spray of Flowers' face radiated bliss and happiness. Feng Shuani didn't say anything to that. This matter absolutely wasn't this simple. After Feng Shuani discovered Yi Wanwan's identity in Si Yihan's study, he could ascertain that Yi Wanwan was the Nia family's second miss, worryless Nia. However, his superiors suddenly told them second miss worryless Nia was found. So this kind of thing absolutely couldn't happen logically. If Yi Wanwan in China was the genuine second miss of the Nia family, then who was the worryless Nia they found in the independent state? How did she deceive their patriarch and madam, and cause the entire Nia family to believe her without a doubt? Feng Shuani pinched his brows. He was afraid this matter wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. Perhaps there was a bigger scheme that was hidden behind all of this. Why did second miss worryless Nia disappear? And how did she end up with Si Yihan, erased of her identity as the second miss of the Nia family in the independent state by Si Yihan? Chapter 1235. 1235. Moreover, who in the world was the worryless Nia the Nia family found in the independent state? The patriarch of the Si family, Si Yihan, also coincidentally disappeared strangely during this time. Was there some concrete connection between the two events? Even someone like Feng Shuani felt like he was viewing this matter through rose-tinted glasses and couldn't see the truth. Suddenly, Spray of Flowers' phone rang, and he stood up after seeing the caller ID. I'm gonna go out to take a call. Outside the food stall, Spray of Flowers held his phone to his ears and continuously nodded. I understand. However, that bloody stutterer Feng Shuani said Yi Wanwan might be the real second Mississippi. About this matter, it was unknown what the person on the other end said, but Spray of Flowers nodded and hung up. What are you doing? Spray of Flowers had just hung up when nameless Nia slowly swaggered close to him. A call from home, Spray of Flowers replied while looking at nameless Nia. Nameless Nia nodded with understanding and said, I've booked the plane tickets. We can return tomorrow. However, Captain, is the one at home really second miss worryless Nia? Spray of Flowers asked curiously. Nonsense. Nameless Nia glanced at Spray of Flowers. How could my parents possibly recognize her wrong? That's not it, Captain. Second miss was missing for so many years, so her appearance must be different from so many years ago. We should be more cautious, Spray of Flowers said. I think you're itching for a beating, nameless Nia snorted. How could my parents and third sister recognize the wrong person? Fine, Spray of Flowers nodded and didn't say anything more after nameless Nia said that. A moment later, Spray of Flowers and nameless Nia arrived at the food stall's private room. Feng Shuani, you told me you found some important clue on the phone. What's going on? Nameless Nia sat down and asked Feng Shuani. Captain, is your family sure they found second miss? Feng Shuani looked at nameless Nia. Nameless Nia nodded and said, they're sure. That damn girl was partying and having fun in the world these past few years, and was finally found a few days ago. My parents and third sister all confirmed that she's that damn girl. Alright, it's nothing then, Feng Shuani said. The current situation was very obvious. Everyone from Nameless Nya to the Patriarch, Madam, and Third Miss were all very certain that the counterfeit was Worryless Nya herself. It was meaningless for Feng Shuani to say anything else. It was unknown whether the Nya family would believe him if he told the truth. More importantly, there was a high possibility that he would bring a bloody calamity onto the real second miss. Since she dared to pretend to be the Nya family's second miss, she couldn't be anyone simple. She might even be related to some of the Nya family's higher-ups. If he allowed other people to know Yi Wanwan was the genuine second miss, it might provoke murderous attempts by the hidden culprits. Feng Shuani could only figure out how to handle this matter once he uncovered everything. Before everything was figured out, he wouldn't act or speak rashly. Soon, the food stall's owner carried several appetizers into the room and randomly placed them on the table. Boss, where's the meat? Devotee was utterly displeased as he looked at the vegetable dishes on the table, then at the food stall's owner. Chapter 1236, $100 for 6 people, and you want meat. Eat if you like, scram if you don't. The food stall's owner contemptuously glanced at Nameless Nya and his group before turning around and leaving. Iceberg man. Captain, I won't follow you back this time. I still have something to take care of here. We'll discuss it again when I'm finished, Feng Shuani said. You aren't going back? You should have told me earlier. I already bought your plane tickets. Nameless Nya was startled. Refund them then. And return the money back to my card. I gotta go. Feng Shuani turned around and left. It wasn't until half an hour after Feng Shuani left that the food stall's owner finished serving all of the dishes. Didn't I give you $200 to order some decent dishes? What the hell did you order? Nameless Nya turned to Devotee. Captain, I did order it based on the $200 standard. That's right. This is a $200 meal. Devotee swore to him while tightly gripping the $100 bill that he kept for himself without blushing or skipping a beat. Damn, this owner is too dishonest. Nameless Nya said with a frown, unaware of Devotee's swindling. Yi Wanwan belatedly arrived and entered the room just as he finished speaking. Sister Famous Yi, be seated. Quick. Nameless Nya had a big grin when he saw Yi Wanwan. Thank you so much for the past few months. This good meal is on me as my thanks to you. Yi Wanwan reflexively surveyed the table. Stir-fry yellow bean sprouts. Stir-fry mung bean sprouts. Hot and sour shredded potatoes. Simmer-fried eggplants. Egg and tomato soup. There were 4 dishes and 1 soup for 5 people. Plus, they were all vegetarian dishes. Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded. This was indeed a good meal. However, Yi Wanwan didn't say anything and sat down. Sister Wanwan, my niece's biological mom was found, so we're going to leave tomorrow. This farewell will probably be an eternal parting. Nameless Nya said as he looked at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan. Don't freaking speak if you don't know how to speak properly. Who the heck are you eternally parting with? Yi Wanwan looked at Nameless Nya as though she wanted to say something, but ended up not saying anything. Whenever Yi Wanwan looked at Nameless Nya, she remembered Tang Tang. It had to be said that this uncle and nephew bore some similarities in their appearance. Is Tang Tang doing okay? Yi Wanwan asked Nameless Nya a moment later. Nameless Nya was a bit surprised when he heard that. Did Yi Wanwan really develop some deep attachment to the little ancestor after interacting with him the past few months? However, Nameless Nya couldn't understand it. He himself wished nothing more than to be worlds apart away from the little ancestor and never see him again. Tang Tang returned to the independent state several days ago already. During these past days, fragmented scenes of her days with Tang Tang popped up in Yi Wanwan's mind occasionally. Unfortunately, she would probably never see him again for the rest of her life. Everything was hazy like a dream. Perhaps Tang Tang was merely a guest in her life. It was just that this guest was a bit more important. How should I know whether he's doing well or not? Anyhow, that little ancestor has never had terrible days in my memory. Nameless Nya subconsciously answered. Spray of flowers and Devotee instantly rolled their eyes at Nameless Nya. Their captain had incomparable martial arts talent, but his intelligence really was a tad low. Was he blind? Boss Famous clearly missed the little devil, alright. Before Yuanwan could say anything, Nameless Nie's phone started ringing. Nameless Nie took out his phone and glanced at it, his face shifting with a swish. It was a video call from Little Devil. Chapter 1237. 1237. He already found his real mom. Why is he still bothering me? Nameless Nie grumbled and had no choice but to accept the video call. In the video, Little Devil was wearing a black, English-style suit and sitting in the lounge of a manor. Little ancestor, what is it? Nameless Nie smiled obsequiously. Tang Tang was silent for a moment before looking at Nameless Nie and hesitantly asked, "Is mommy doing well? Go ask your grandma whether your mom's doing well." "Wait, aren't you also home? Shouldn't you know whether your mom's doing well?" Nameless Nie asked. Devotee spray of flowers, brick moving foreigner, iceberg man. Devotee couldn't resist rolling his eyes. Even he knew Little Devil's mommy was obviously referring to their Boss Famous, okay? What kind of extremely mutated intelligence did the captain have? I'm referring to mommy. Little Devil coldly looked at Nameless Nie. It wasn't until spray of flowers quietly clued him in that Nameless Nie realized the mommy Little Devil was referring to was Yuanwan, who was with him. Oh, your mommy's doing fine. Your mommy has never had terrible days in my memory. Nameless Nie said after thinking about it for a moment without changing a single word. It's good that mommy's well. Little Devil's voice seemed a bit disappointed. He wanted to say something but didn't end up saying it. However, the loneliness and longing brimming from his dim eyes already revealed his emotions. A layer of mist covered Yi Wanwan's eyes as she looked at Tang Tang in the video. It was at this moment that Nameless Nie's phone shifted, and Tang Tang promptly caught the person next to Nameless Nie from the corners of his eyes. "Mommy!" Tang Tang's eyes brightened the second he saw Yi Wanwan, as though they contained a galaxy of stars. They were akin to the first ray of light when the universe began. "Tang Tang, are you doing well at home?" Yi Wanwan concealed her emotions and revealed a smile on her face. If mommy was also here, it would be better. Tang Tang stared intently at Yi Wanwan. A chuckle was pulled out of Yi Wanwan when she heard this. Who knew how many girls would be fatally seduced by this little fella when he grew up? "Mommy, Tang Tang wants to hear you sing," Tang Tang said and looked at Yi Wanwan in anticipation after a brief moment of thought. Previously, Yi Wanwan would sing Tang Tang to sleep next to him every night, but her familiar singing vanished without a trace after he returned to the independent state. It wasn't that he wasn't used to it, it was that he couldn't get used to it. "Mommy, can we meet again one day?" Tang Tang's eyes were sparkling as he looked at Yi Wanwan. However, Yi Wanwan had no idea how she should answer him this time. She previously promised Tang Tang she would visit him if she had the chance. Her dreams were wonderful, but the reality was harsh. First, she had a pile of business waiting for her in China right now. Moreover, the independent state was very xenophobic. If outsiders rashly entered, their lives would be endangered. Plus, Tang Tang's biological mother was found already, so there was no reason for him to return to China. Last but not least, there was great distance and oceans and mountains between China and the independent state. Perhaps her relationship with Tang Tang ended the moment Tang Tang's biological mother was found. This was fate. They couldn't defy it no matter how much unwillingness and longing existed between her and Tang Tang. Before Yi Wanwan could say anything, an exquisite-looking girl suddenly entered the lounge with a bowl of shark fin soup and walked toward Tang Tang. She placed the shark fin soup to the side. When the girl saw Yi Wanwan in the video, her face turned into a deep frown. "Tang Tang, who is she?" Chapter 1238. 1238, "It's my mommy," Tang Tang dryly said. "Nonsense." The girl's expression froze. There was displeasure on her face as she said, "Your mommy and grandma are about to enter. How could you be so nonsensical and bratty and casually call some random stray animal your mommy? Who are you calling a stray animal?" Nameless Nie snatched his phone out of Yi Wanwan's hands before that girl could finish speaking. He coldly stared at the girl and said, "Try saying that again? Brother?" The girl looked at Nameless Nie with furrowed brows. She took care of Tang Tang in China for so long and she's my friend. If you run your mouth off again, I'm gonna slap your mouth raw when I come back. Nameless Nia coldly berated her. How would I know? The girl looked clueless. As soon as I entered, I heard Tang Tang calling this girl his mom. How would I know she's your friend? Are you an idiot? Is that so? Nameless Nia turned to look at Devotee and Spray of Flowers. Probably. Spray of Flowers nodded. The girl next to the little devil in the video was the third miss of the independent state's Nia family, Tong Tong's aunt and Nameless Nia's third sister. Oh, Nameless Nia muttered. As he said that, an elegant-looking woman in luxurious clothing and a girl with exceptional looks entered the lounge shoulder to shoulder. Third child, why are you shouting? Did you give Tang Tang the food yet? The elegant woman walked forward and looked at the third miss. Before third miss Nia could say anything, the elegant woman suddenly saw Yi Wanwan in the video, and her expression instantly chilled. Ever since Tang Tang returned to the independent state, he had been in a terrible mood, and even called for his fake mommy from China in his dreams. Tang Tang. It's me, who's your mommy? The exceptionally looking girl walked up. Derision and contempt surfaced in her eyes as she glanced at Yi Wanwan from the corner of her eyes. That doesn't prevent me from having one more mommy, Tang Tang expressionlessly said with a glance at the girl. The girl's eyes turned misty, and she sadly took a few steps back with her hands covering her mouth. Mommy was wrong. I shouldn't have left you. I shouldn't have left home. I didn't fulfill a mother's responsibilities and allow someone else to take advantage and sidle in. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Worryless. The wealthy woman quickly went up to comfort her and glanced at Tang Tang with mild reproach. The most pampered member of the independent state's Nia family was their second miss, Worryless Nia. She was the true beloved member of the Nia family. Moreover, Madame Nia felt lingering guilt toward her because she left home when she was young. So how could Madame Nia bear to see her precious daughter suffering such a grievance? Nameless Nia, let me tell you, don't accept it the next time Tang Tang video calls you. Madame Nia said as she looked at Nameless Nia. How's it my fault? It wasn't me who initiated the call. You should tell that little ancestor yourself. You can't blame me. Nameless Nia was unwilling to accept this. Madame Nia glanced at Nameless Nia before turning to Yi Wanwan. She sighed. Miss Wanwan, I'm very grateful to you for taking care of Tang Tang during the past few months. However, Tong Tong's mother has been found, so I hope Miss Wanwan won't maintain any contact with Tang Tang from now on. Miss Yi doesn't hope to see Tang Tang at odds with his own mother, right? We can satisfy any requests or compensation that you want, but we hope Miss Yi can also understand us old people's feelings. Chapter 1239. In truth, Yi Wanwan could understand Madame Nia's words. If she was in Madame Nia's place and saw Tang Tang didn't have a harmonious relationship with his biological mother because of her, perhaps she would do the same thing. However, for some reason, she could feel a faint pain stinging her heart, as though someone was slowly slicing it with a blade. Are you done? Nameless Nia suddenly stood next to Yi Wanwan with a solemn expression. What do you mean? Madame Nia frowned. I'm asking you if you're done, Nameless Nia said. What's wrong with you? I dare you to say it again. Anger surfaced in Madame Nia's eyes. I'm speaking to her, not you, Mom. Don't interfere. Nameless Nia turned to the aggrieved girl and asked. Worryless Nia, you deserve a freaking beating, I'm telling you. Why the fuck are you acting pitiful right now? How did you look at Miss Yi just now? What the fuck do you mean with your derision and contempt? It's been her who took care of Tang Tang this whole time with total devotion. Tang Tang can't forget her even after going home. That proves just how sincere and how well she treated Tang Tang. But what about you? What have you been doing? Why didn't I know how well you could pretend before? You finally know to fucking come home? What have you been doing before? Don't make me break your legs when I come back. Brother. The girl wanted to say something. However, Nameless Nia waved his hand. I'm telling you, Missy, I'm seriously angry. Ask Spray of Flowers how I am when I'm seriously angry. When Captain gets angry, it's a true volcanic eruption. He'll beat anyone except for himself. Spray of Flowers mumbled quietly. I'm telling you, Worryless Nia, behave. If you act like a bitch again, just wait until I come back. Don't make me bring Tang Tang back here and give him to Miss Yi so that you can never see him again. Nameless Nia coldly said. Tang Tang's eyes brightened when he heard this. He never thought his unreliable uncle would have such an unexpected, manly side. You dare? Madame Nia was fairly infuriated by Nameless Nia. Mom, you know my temper. There's nothing that I, Nameless Nia, won't dare to do. Let's talk about you now. What did you say to my friend just now? She can ask for any compensation she wants? Who do you think my friend is? Don't say anything, just listen to me, okay? Nameless Nia interrupted Madame Nia and continued. Even a grown man like me can't endure it when I hear, any compensation is fine. What's wrong with you? It was me who begged my friend to take care of Tang Tang. What you're saying now is slapping my face. I, Nameless Nia, consider my face more important than my life. Even if you're my mom, you can't humiliate me like this. Don't make me bring Tang Tang back here as soon as I come home this time, then run away from home like that precious daughter of yours. You've tasted what it feels like to have a daughter run away already, but you haven't tasted a son running away yet, right? How about that? Nameless Nia's fury was quite immense, and he didn't give Madame Nia any room to respond. Madame Nia was about to faint from how infuriated Nameless Nia made her. Madame Nia originally wanted to say something but was pulled back by third Miss Nia. You know Big Brother's temper better than anyone. He took after you in this. Big Brother's in a fit right now, so if you don't go along with him, I'm afraid none of us can stop him. Big Brother really could do something like that when he comes back. Chapter 1240. 1240. Fine. I'll pretend you drank too much. We'll talk when you're back. No more today, Madame Nia said. Worryless Nia immediately now this moment, apologized to my friend. Nameless Nia told the girl behind Madame Nia. Mom, look at eldest brother. Worryless Nia looked at Madame Nia with an aggrieved expression. It's useless even if you call Dad. Apologize. Nameless Nia nearly roared. This roar caused Madame Nia to sigh. Worryless apologized to Miss Yi. Yuanwan lightly coughed. Forget it. It's nothing. She didn't expect Nameless Nia to be so protective of her that he would even argue with his family. She couldn't allow Nameless Nia's relationship with his family to turn so stiff. Moreover, that woman was Tang Tang's biological mother. What? Forget it. I said apologize, so fucking apologize. Boss Yi, do you want to humiliate me, Nameless Nia, and slap my face? Nameless Nia instantly glared at Yuanwan. No. Whatever you say. Yuanwan's lips twitched. She had never seen Nameless Nia fly off the handle. Today truly widened her horizons. He was like a different person from how he normally was. Miss Yi, I'm sorry. I wasn't in the right mindset before. I hope Miss Yi will forgive me, the girl said to Yuanwan. It's fine. Yuanwan smiled uncaringly. By then, if there's nothing else. Nameless Nia instantly ended the video call as soon as the girl apologized. However, after ending the call, it appeared that Nameless Nia's anger wasn't extinguished yet, and he immediately called Tang Tang back. When Madame Nia saw that it was Nameless Nia's video call, she originally didn't want Tang Tang to accept it, but Tang Tang accepted it at once before Madame Nia could say anything. Uncle, Tang Tang called while looking at Nameless Nia. This was probably his most sincere use of uncle. Give the phone to your grandma, Nameless Nia said. Okay. Tang Tang knew Nameless Nia was still in volcano mode, so he cooperatively handed the phone to Madame Nia. Ancestor, what do you want now? Madame Nia felt her head aching when she saw Nameless Nia's face. Mom, what's the deal with Worryless Nia? Is she actually my sister? Nameless Nia asked. What do you mean? Madame Nia was startled. What do you mean, what do I mean? Exactly what I said. How did Worryless Nia turn into such a bitch? I want nothing more than to slap her a few times, and she even pretends to have been mistreated in front of me. She is purposefully acting like that in front of you. That daughter of yours, she absolutely wouldn't show it to us if she was really mistreated, so let's not even mention fake mistreatment. Is she a fake? As Nameless Nia said this, he looked at the girl who still looked extremely aggrieved in the video. How could you talk about your sister like that? Madame Nia angrily questioned him. How could you not know your daughter's personality as her mother? Birthmark or whatever, it can be faked. Even DNA can be faked. Mom, I'm telling you, go through more channels and check a few more times. If she's really a counterfeit, I'm gonna beat her to death when I come back. If you don't investigate thoroughly, I'll personally investigate it myself when I'm back. If she's the real one, where's that wild man? Who's Tong Tong's father? Anyway, I won't say anything more to you. Worryless Nia, I'll call you this for now, watch out. If I learned that you dared to pretend to be my sister, wait for death. I have more channels than the entire Nia family. How can me, the great Buddha, be unable to differentiate whether you are the real or fake six-eared macaque? Then nameless Nia ended the video call without waiting for a response. Six-eared macaque is a character from Journey to the West who has identical looks to Sun Wukong. Chapter 1241. 1241. After ending the video call, nameless Nia's fury still wasn't extinguished. Spray of flowers, devotee, and the others all kept quiet out of fear. Captain was easygoing normally, but volcanic mode Captain was the scariest person in the world. What are you looking at? Is the meal free? Eat. Eat it all. Nameless Nia turned to his group. Yes, eat. Devotee quickly started moving his chopsticks and inhaled the shredded potatoes like there was an unlimited supply. Is the meal free? Why are you eating it all by yourself? Nameless Nia glared at Devotee. Devotee immediately froze on the spot. His chopsticks with the shredded potatoes he picked up hovering next to his mouth, and he turned embarrassed. So should he eat or not? Boss Yi, it was inadequate planning on my part today, don't mind it. Wait until I go back and thoroughly investigate it. Nameless Nia said. Brick-moving foreigner remained apprehensive. It was truly rare to see Captain exploding in fury. It appeared Captain sincerely considered Boss Yi a close friend. It's fine. Yi Wanwan smiled. Then Yi Wanwan's phone suddenly rang. It was Luochen calling. Hey Luochen. Brother Yi, do you have time tonight? Luochen hastily asked. Yi Wanwan said. What is it? Brother Xinyu has a concert tonight, and invited Luochen and I as guest singers, as well as you, Brother Yi. But when Sister Jiawen called you to confirm the time today, she couldn't reach you, Luochen replied. Yi Wanwan pinched her brows. Sorry, I was busy, so I forgot to return the call. I got it, I'll arrive on time. First, it was Tong Tong's departure, then it was Si Yihan's disappearance. Her mind had been tumultuous lately, so she nearly forgot about this matter. After hanging up, a thought flitted through Yi Wanwan's mind. She quickly took out that strange string of numbers and walked to Nameless Nia and asked, Do you know the region of this phone number? Nameless Nia glanced at it and immediately answered, This? It's a number from the independent state. Yi Wanwan's brows furrowed when she heard that, as she thought it was a number from the independent state. If it was like that, then there was a concrete connection between Si Yihan's disappearance and the independent state. An independent state's number can call outside, but the outside world can't reach an independent state's number, Nameless Nia said. Can you help me call this number? Yi Wanwan probed furtively. I can. That's easy. Nameless Nia took out another phone and called the number. The call rang a few times before a female voice was heard. Who is it? Who are you? Nameless Nia asked. Are you crazy? You called me and asked me who I am. The other party cursed and immediately hung up. Yi Wanwan was speechless as she looked at Nameless Nia, whose brain went offline again. Give it to me. Let me do it. Yi Wanwan took the phone from Nameless Nia and called again. A few rings later, the female voice was heard again. What's wrong with you? I'm sorry. My friend didn't speak clearly earlier. I'm really sorry. Yi Wanwan apologized lightly. The other person impatiently asked, Who are you looking for? I want to ask, is Si Yihan there? Yi Wanwan asked inquisitively. You're looking for Si Yihan. May I ask who you are? The other person grew more cautious when Si Yihan's name was mentioned. Chapter 1242. Yi Wanwan's suspicions were confirmed immediately. Si Yihan had to be there. He went to the independent state. Were his friends from China? Nameless Nia suddenly interjected. What? China? The female voice sounded shocked. Then she hung up without giving Yi Wanwan any time to respond. What about China? What does she mean? Nameless Nia was bewildered. Yi Wanwan was also very astonished. The other party seemed to hold a great repulsion toward China. Yi Wanwan didn't say anything and kept calling. Do. This time a busy tone came from the phone. However, Yi Wanwan kept attempting to reach the other person and persistently called the number again and again. It ended when the number turned into a blank number. What kind of deep enmity do they have with China? Devotee looked surprised. Stop calling. The other person clearly doesn't want to answer calls from China. Even if you use my phone to call them until it's dead and stops working, you still won't reach them, Nameless Nia told Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan was rather exasperated too. Just as Nameless Nia said, the number turned blank already, so there wasn't any point in continuing to call. Most importantly, the other person seemed unwilling to answer calls from China. Yi Wanwan didn't know the exact reason though. Thank you. Yi Wanwan returned the phone to Nameless Nia. Yi Wanwan didn't know whether this was Si Yihan's intention or Si Yihan was suffering some sort of threat right now, and had no choice. Can I request something from you? Yi Wanwan asked Nameless Nia a moment later. What is it? Nameless Nia said. I want you to help me look into news of my friend after you go back. He might also be in the independent state right now. Yi Wanwan took a deep breath and calmed her mind before telling the whole story behind Si Yihan's disappearance to Nameless Nia. Nameless Nia sunk into contemplation after hearing it before pensively saying, wanting to find someone in the independent state is akin to finding a needle in a haystack. But don't worry, I'll look into this number's address after we're back. If we can find it, we can just visit them and ask directly. If we can't find it, we'll also think of a way to find news of your friend. If we still can't find anything, I think you should just remarry. Yi Wanwan originally felt quite grateful, but promptly glared at Nameless Nia when she heard the last part. Did this fool know how to talk properly? After leaving the food stall, Yi Wanwan saw that it was about time, so she headed to the stadium that hosted Han Xianyu's concert. They advertised Han Xianyu's concert for a long time already. It wasn't uncommon for an artist to hold a concert. Moreover, Han Xianyu debuted as a singer at first, so he was an all-round artist that was good at film, television, and music. Within a few days, all of the tickets for the concert were sold out. Because of that, the organizers added several teams of security last minute to maintain order. However, Yi Wanwan's mind couldn't calm down as she drove to the stadium. Thoughts about Si Yihan's disappearance and her own mysterious background plagued her mind. Ever since she saw the briefcase and its contents inside Si Yihan's study, she could confirm that Si Yihan didn't know the real Yi Wanwan. Si Yihan ended up choosing Yi Wanwan's memory in the end merely because it suited her the most. Chapter 1243. What Yi Wanwan could also confirm was that she underwent deep hypnosis, and her original memories were erased and overwritten with the true Yi Wanwan's memories before she was reborn. It was because of this that she firmly believed in her identity as Yi Wanwan without any doubt after she was reborn. However, in this second life, she ended up discovering the truth because of some changes. A complicated glint surfaced in Yi Wanwan's eyes when she thought of this. It was rather ridiculous really. She lived life 2 times, but in both lives, she lived as someone else and forgot her own self. However, what Yi Wanwan couldn't understand was since Si Yihan was a complete stranger to the true Yi Wanwan, why did he want her to live as Yi Wanwan? Perhaps Si Yihan had some secret, difficult to mention and involuntary reason? Logically speaking, she and Si Yihan had known each other for a long time. So what was her relationship with Si Yihan back then? Lovers? Friends? Enemies? Also, who were her parents? Did she have any siblings? A flurry of emotions assaulted Yi Wanwan, but she had no idea where to start. If she wanted to solve this enormous mystery, her only solution was to find Si Yihan and make him explain everything from start to end. However, what was laughable was that at a critical moment like this, Si Yihan fell off the grid, and even Sui couldn't find a single trace of him. Since Yi Wanwan couldn't understand it no matter what, she decided to stop thinking about it. Yi Wanwan soon arrived at the stadium. There was already a sea of people at the stadium with fans tightly packed outside it. After Yi Wanwan parked the car, several staff members from the organizers walked over. "Hello. Are you Mr. Miss Wanwan?" The leader, a middle-aged man, looked at Yi Wanwan slightly embarrassed. Although he heard that the renowned Yi Bai cross-dressed from a girl to a guy, he still couldn't react in time after seeing Yi Wanwan herself. "That's right." Yi Wanwan smiled politely. This smile made the middle-aged man unable to look away. Her looks were exceptionally outstanding, but she was different from meticulously packaged female celebrities in the entertainment industry who were beautiful but were akin to lifeless, artificial flowers. Her features were immortal and unworldly, and contained the freeness of the vast horizons. She was akin to the great, desolate desert or the sun setting into the ocean. After being in a daze for a moment, the middle-aged man coughed lightly and dissolved his embarrassment. He looked at Yi Wanwan and said with a smile, "Miss Yi Bai, please follow me. Xin Yu is doing his makeup right now, so he couldn't personally come and receive you." "All right." Yi Wanwan nodded lightly and followed the staff member into the venue. There were waves of cheering and shouts erupting from the enormous stadium on occasion. Yi Wanwan was inside the stadium but could still hear the calls for Han Xinyu, as well as Gong Su and Luo Chen. What astonished Yi Wanwan was that there were quite a few calls for Yi Bai from the fans as well. She had just gone backstage when Gong Su and Luo Chen walked out from the dressing room. "Brother Yi." Luo Chen greeted her as soon as he saw Yi Wanwan. Gong Su looked at Yi Wanwan and was about to complain to her about her picking up Luo Chen's call, but ignoring his call, but his ability to speak disappeared when he saw her. His ears also turned redder and redder. Gong Su finally managed to recover from his inattention a moment later, and quietly grumbled something indecipherable. Damn it! It was still the same person in front of him. But why did he feel like the vibe Yi Bai was giving off had changed somehow? Chapter 1244. 1244. Gong Su covertly approached Luo Chen and whispered to him, "Blockhead, do you sense something different from Brother Yi?" Luo Chen glanced at him. "I don't." "Brother Yi is Brother Yi. What's different about her?" Gong Su claimed. Her aura obviously changed. The original little candied plum was sweet and gentle, but the current Brother Yi is clearly more domineering. It's like her seal slowly wore off. "Can't you tell?" Luo Chen replied, "I can't." Gong Su looked distasteful. "Forget it. It'd be weirder if a completely straight guy like you could see it." Luo Chen, is he sure there's nothing wrong with what he said? Gong Su stopped paying attention to Luo Chen and dashed over to Yi Wanwan. Brother Yi, how about we sing a song together tonight? What do you think about Little Dimples? What about Helpless Love? An ex-husband's love? Or You Must Marry Me Today?" Yi Wanwan looked somewhat exasperated and sat down on a nearby sofa. "You guys can sing." Gong Su frowned. "Brother Yi, do you feel unwell? Or did you run into some trouble?" Yi Wanwan's expression turned warm, and she glanced at Gong Su. "I'll be fine as long as you behave." The base of Gong Su's ears reddened. Oh. Gong Su probably noticed Yi Wanwan wasn't in a good mood, so he acted more well-behaved and calm on this rare occasion. Soon after, Han Xinyu came over to greet them in a haste. "Yi Bai, you're here. Sorry, I've been too busy today." Yi Wanwan glanced at the radiant man in front of her. "It's fine. Do what you need to do and don't worry about me. Oh right, I forgot to congratulate you. Congratulations on debuting for 5 years." Today was the 5th anniversary of Han Xinyu's debut, so he chose to hold a concert to give back to his fans and reminiscence. Han Xinyu looked at her gently. "Thank you." Half an hour later, the concert officially started, and Yi Wanwan went to sit in the VIP seats. Fans tightly packed the enormous open-sky stadium. There was a countless number of glow sticks waving in the air, illuminating the night. A moment later, Han Xinyu ascended onto the stage. "Thank you for coming today, everyone." Han Xinyu's eyes swept across the audience with a faint smile on his lips. The audience in the stadium bubbled with excitement, wave after wave of screams and shrieks erupting from them. Ah, Xianyu. Xianyu. Xianyu, I love you. Today, I was fortunate enough to invite several good friends. You're all very familiar with them. As Han Xianyu finished speaking, the camera turned to Gongsu, Luo Chen, and Yi Wanwan in the VIP seats. A wave of heaven-piercing screams reverberated from the audience. At the same time, nameless Nya, Spray of Flowers, and the rest of their group was sneakily loitering outside of the stadium. Captain, we're heading back tomorrow. What the heck are we doing here this late at night? Devotee scratched his head with incomprehension. We're listening to a concert, of course. Nameless Nya glanced at Devotee. Concert. Spray of Flowers was taken back and subconsciously reached into his pocket. Captain, the tickets aren't cheap, right? Didn't you lavishly spend all of the bloody stutterer's money already? That's right, Captain. Why are you watching some concert if you don't have the money? We can hear it from here already. How about I download a few songs from the internet for you? Devotee looked at nameless Nya. He truly didn't understand why Captain suddenly had a hobby of celebrity chasing. You don't know shit. Nameless Nya rolled his eyes at them. It's not like it's me who wanted to listen to it. It's all because Little Devil said he wanted to listen to Mommy sing in the video call tonight. He had to leave the next day, so even if he wanted to let Little Devil see Sister Famous Yi through a video call after tomorrow, he couldn't. Tonight was his last chance. Hence, after contemplating it, he decided to show up. Chapter 1245. Brick-moving foreigner scratched his head. But, see, Captain, we don't have tickets. How are we supposed to enter? Spray of Flowers giggled. How could such a minor matter trouble our captain? Nameless Nya surveyed the outside of the stadium. It was closely surrounded by a wall with several very high lampposts scattered around. Nameless Nya jumped and leaped into the air before following the lamppost and climbing up. Soon, Nameless Nya climbed to the top, then he nimbly jumped and landed on the wall without any trouble. His viewpoint was better than from the VIP seats. Brick-moving foreigner scratched his head. Captain is sneaking in without a ticket? Spray of Flowers raised his eyebrows. Little sweetie, we're entering with our own abilities. How could this be called sneaking in without a ticket? Devotee nodded vehemently in agreement. That's right, that's right. Iceberg Man. On the stage, Han Xinyu finished singing the final song, and the venue's atmosphere was incredibly heated. Aha! Xinyu. Little angel Xinyu. Xinyu, I love you. Han Xinyu's face had a gentle smile as he looked at the fans hollering for him below the stage. Finally, please welcome our special guests tonight. The fans' fervor rose to a peak at Han Xinyu's words. Nearly everyone was screaming wildly. Calls for Gongsu, Luo Chen, and Yi Bai rippled through the sea of fans. Yi Wanwan led Gongsu and Luo Chen onto the stage. When the four people stood on the stage simultaneously, the fans nearly fainted from their emotional states. Ah, my heavenly group of breathtaking beauties is too handsome. Beautiful group. Beautiful group. Beautiful group. Han Xinyu was wearing a white, elegant and gentlemanly embroidered suit. Luo Chen was wearing black Victorian-style formal attire with a high collar, and Gongsu was wearing a brightly colored hip and fashionable outfit. They were all handsome and dashing, but they all had a distinctly different aura and personality. As for Yi Wanwan, she was wearing female clothes on this rare occasion. But even though it was female clothes, the languidness and freeness that permeated her made the audience unable to look away. She was fatally attractive to both men and women. Han Xinyu was currently introducing the guests to the fans. Gongsu secretly leaned over and muttered to Yi Wanwan, "Brother Yi, won't you sing Little Dimples? It's such a good opportunity." Yi Wanwan naturally ignored him. When Han Xinyu finished speaking, the melodious accompaniment started playing. The viewpoint from the wall was very broad and very close to the stage, but it was a blind spot for cameras, so fans and security wouldn't notice them at all. They also wouldn't expect someone to have climbed up such a high wall. When Nameless Nya saw Yi Wanwan coming up to the stage, he quickly dialed a video call. The screen flashed, and Little Devil's cold and aloof face appeared. Little Devil asked, "You need something?" Nameless Nya turned the phone around and aimed it at Yi Wanwan on the stage. "Didn't you want to hear your mom sing?" Although it's a chorus, make do and listen to it. The other end of the phone grew silent when Little Devil heard his words. Nameless Nya was about to rotate the phone to see what Little Devil was doing when he heard the child say, "Thank you, uncle." Nameless Nya, HM. Little Devil actually called me uncle today. And even called me that more than once. Little Devil is suddenly treating me so gently and kindly. I'm really not used to it. It kind of scares me to death. Chapter 1246. 1246 On the stage, the antique-style intro music finished playing. Han Xianyu held up his microphone and started singing. Boil a bowl of soup to clear the mind and warm the body. Blood and pain seeps a tyrant's bones, tasted from the shadows of their sword and saber. The world drifts past us. Gong Su smiled flirtatiously at the fans. Don't ask who's waiting. The second the gleaming sword pierces the air, it gently kisses your neck. Luo Chen sang. Victory or defeat decided in one touch. Life or death sitting an inch away. Bitterly drinking in the silent night and the breathless wind. Luo Chen's reserved and restrictive personality, as well as his background in martial art films, complemented this song well. A glint shifted in Yi Wanwan's eyes. After I tear apart this universe of morning and twilight and clean the earth with my gleaming blade, I'll drink the strongest liquor, love the prettiest person, and watch the billowing waves of the vast ocean beneath the expansive sky. Ah! Yi Bai. Yi Bai. Marry me, goddess. Brother Yi Bai, I want to warm your bed. God, I want to birth mixed-sex twins for you. Although Yi Wanwan was currently in female clothes, screams from the girls beneath the stage weren't lacking, and her popularity wasn't inferior to the popularity of Han Xianyu or the other two at all. When she finished singing, watch the billowing waves of the vast ocean beneath the expansive sky, part. Gong Su almost forgot his next lyrics and Han Xianyu's gaze. Finally, the four people sang the last part together. Mountains and rivers topple, heaven and earth collapse, but I'll support this world with my entire life. The camera focused on the four people on the stage, and the shrieks and cheers beneath the stage pierced the air. Yi Wanwan looked at Han Xianyu, Gong Su and Luo Chen next to her. Then at Yi Mufan, Jiang Yanran, and Fei Yang beneath the stage. Then at all of their fans. The feeling of loss and apprehension that lingered in her heat suddenly dispersed into nothing. So what if she wasn't Yi Wanwan? So what if she forgot her own self? Everything that she experienced while living as Yi Wanwan was real. These friends, family, and people who supported her and liked her. They were all real. Even if she hadn't lived as herself, this period of her life was a valuable and precious part of her life. It wasn't meaningless. As the final chorus finished, today's concert came to a satisfactory end. The fans that attended their concert all reluctantly left the stadium. On the other end of Nameless Nya's video call, Tong Tong's gaze trailed after Yi Wanwan on the stage until her figure completely disappeared to the back of the stage. The light in his eyes also grew dimmer bit by bit. Ahem. It's over. Nameless Nya reminded him. The little fella's eyes longingly lingered on the empty stage. Don't hang up. Nameless Nya had no choice but to continue crouching on the wall. An unknown amount of time passed. The stadium turned desolate and the lights dimmed, but Tang Tang was still looking at the empty stage. It was as if he could picture Mommy standing there as long as the scene was frozen there. Backstage. Brother Yi, are you okay? Gong Su cautiously asked. Han Xianyu also looked worried. Yi Bai, do you feel unwell today? There was something amiss with Yi Wanwan's state today. Yi Wanwan shook her head, and was about to say she was fine when her gaze accidentally flitted past the wall of the stadium outside the window. Why was there someone on that wall? Was she delusional and mistaken? How could someone climb so high recklessly and court death? Yi Wanwan rubbed her eyes and focused again. There was a person there indeed, and they were holding up their phone as though they were filming something. Wait a minute. That person is... When Yi Wanwan saw who it was, she was flabbergasted. Nameless Nya? This guy. Last time, he climbed a tree. This time he actually climbed a wall. If you want to listen to the song, look up the song. The Legend of Knights Errant. Chapter 1247 On the Wall. Nameless Nya sniffled. Ah. So moving, Spray of Flowers, who had climbed up at some point in time, used a handkerchief to wipe his tears. While listening to this made me cry, Devotee said. Merciful Buddha. A good deed, a good deed. Spray of Flowers asked, Damn Taoist priest, when did you change religions? Devotee replied, When I discovered being a monk makes a better living. On the stage, Yuanwan placed down her microphone after she finished singing the song. No matter how unwilling she was, they had to part ways. Tomorrow Nameless Nya and his group were leaving. This song was her final present for Tang Tang. After the music ended, the spotlight also dimmed. The stage was empty once again. Nameless Nya furtively called out, Ancestor? When he didn't get a response, he turned the phone around and discovered that Tang Tang had ended the call already. Nameless Nya sighed and shoved away Spray of Flowers, who was laying on him. Disband, disband. Disband already. We have to wake up early tomorrow. He had to hurry back and personally look into the matter with his sister. Gong Su skipped forward with glittering eyes as soon as Yi Wanwan came back. Brother Yi, whose buggy? Is it me? Yi Wanwan glanced at him. Isn't this fool's imagination too wild? Yi Mufan glanced at his sister from the corners of his eyes. You sang with such deep emotion. You didn't sing for that pretty boy, right? It didn't seem like it though. Although there was emotion in the song, it didn't seem romantic. Moreover, that pretty boy wasn't here, so why would she be singing it for him? Yi Mufan didn't know what he said wrong, but Yi Wanwan's expression darkened a few degrees after he said that. Yi Mufan coughed and inquisitively glanced at her. What happened? You don't seem to be doing so well the last few days. Could it be you broke up? Gong Su was in the same camp as Yi Mufan on this rare occasion, light radiating from his eyes. Really? You broke up? Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes. Break up? That's impossible in this lifetime. For some reason, even though she learned Si Yihan basically killed the true her, she still unconsciously protected him. It was very late at night by the time she got home. Yi Wanwan knew too many things happened recently, so she needed to rest well and maintain her energy. However, she couldn't sleep much that night and merely napped for a little bit. Her dreams were filled with grotesque and multicolored fragments. The next morning, she was woken up by a phone call. Wanwan, something happened at home. Liang Wanjuan's anxious and panicked voice came from the other end. Mom, what happened? Yi Wanwan frowned. Calm down and tell me slowly. Wanwan, your second uncle, he. Second uncle? A cold glint surfaced in Yi Wanwan's eyes. Second uncle is bullying you and dad again. No. Your second uncle, he died. Liang Wanjun sighed lightly. What? Yi Wanwan was taken back when she heard that. Second uncle Yi Shaoan was dead? How did he die? Yi Wanwan subconsciously asked. They're not sure right now. His corpse was discovered in his bedroom. Hurry and come back. Liang Wanjun stressfully said. At some point in time, she had started treating her daughter as her main pillar. All right, I understand. I'll come back immediately. Yi Wanwan hung up the phone. Chapter 1248. A new problem arose before the old one was resolved. Yi Wanwan sunk into contemplation. Many things had long since escaped her grasp and swerved from its path in her previous life. Her previous self hadn't discovered her true identity even until death, and she had no idea her memory was forcefully implanted. In her previous life, Si Yihan never disappeared and remained in the Si family the whole time. Second uncle Yi Shaoan also didn't die. However, in this life, the more she changed, the more things became drastically different from her previous life. This butterfly effect wasn't too weird though. This included how Yi Wanwan discovered the secret of her background. Si Yihan mysteriously disappeared, and second uncle's abrupt death. Soon, Yi Wanwan gathered her thoughts with a light frown. There had to be something fishy about Yi Shaoan's death. Based on her experience in her previous life, Yi Wanwan remembered Yi Shaoan as being very healthy in her entire previous life, but this time, Yi Shaoan died on his own bed. Soon, Yi Wanwan drove toward the Yi residence in haste. Perhaps it was because too many things happened in succession, and she didn't sleep enough that her head started to pound faintly. When she reached a corner, Her head felt like it was cracking open from how much it hurt, as though someone forcefully broke her skull with a hammer. It was like a giant hole was torn open, and something ferociously rushed outside. In the blink of an eye, pieces after pieces of fragmented and incomplete memories appeared out of thin air and poured into the depths of Yi Wanwan's mind. In this piece of incomplete memory, a little girl surfaced in Yi Wanwan's mind. The little girl was standing next to a lake with an extremely strict and imposing elderly man standing near her. "Grandpa, Grandpa, I want to see Daddy and Mommy. When will Daddy and Mommy come and pick me up?" the little girl asked timidly. "They won't come," the elderly man replied with a frown as he looked at her. "Why?" The little girl looked wronged. "Because they're already dead." "Liar. Grandpa's a liar. Daddy and Mommy didn't die." "No crying. Crying is the most useless thing. It's an action of the weak." The elderly man harshly reprimanded her. "I don't want. I hate Grandpa. I want Daddy. I want Mommy." The little girl looked pitiful with heartbreak and anguish on her face, tears the size of beans rolling down her face. The elderly man's expression softened, and he picked up the girl in his arms. "From today onwards, no one can indulge or protect you. You can only rely on yourself and must learn to grow stronger. Do you understand?" "I understand." In the end, the little girl headed somewhere in a daze while holding the elderly man's hand. Yi Wanwan felt like her head was splitting. Although this piece of memory appeared out of nowhere, Yi Wanwan was sure the little girl was her young self, and that extremely strict elderly man was her grandfather. The backdrop and architecture in her memory looked Chinese. Judging by the symbolic carved building in the middle of the lake, it must be a little town in City S. In other words, based on this fragmented piece of memory, she and Grandpa were both Chinese. She also learned from Grandpa's words that her real parents were dead already. Yi Wanwan never expected to have such an imposing grandfather, or that her parents both died a long time ago. She didn't know how her parents died. Although this piece of memory was very crisp, it was also very short, so she could only obtain a limited amount of information from it. Chapter 1249. A new problem arose before the old one was resolved. Yi Wanwan sunk into contemplation. Many things had long since escaped her grasp and swerved from its path in her previous life. Her previous self hadn't discovered her true identity even until death, and she had no idea her memory was forcefully implanted. In her previous life, Si Yihan never disappeared and remained in the Si family the whole time. Second uncle Yi Shaoan also didn't die. However, in this life, the more she changed, the more things became drastically different from her previous life. This butterfly effect wasn't too weird though. This included how Yi Wanwan discovered the secret of her background, Si Yihan mysteriously disappeared, and second uncle's abrupt death. Soon, Yi Wanwan gathered her thoughts with a light frown. There had to be something fishy about Yi Shaoan's death. Based on her experience in her previous life, Yi Wanwan remembered Yi Shaoan as being very healthy in her entire previous life, but this time, Yi Shaoan died on his own bed. Soon, Yi Wanwan drove toward the Yi residence in haste. Perhaps it was because too many things happened in succession, and she didn't sleep enough that her head started to pound faintly. When she reached a corner, her head felt like it was cracking open from how much it hurt, as though someone forcefully broke her skull with a hammer. It was like a giant hole was torn open, and something ferociously rushed outside. In the blink of an eye, pieces after pieces of fragmented and incomplete memories appeared out of thin air and poured into the depths of Yi Wanwan's mind. In this piece of incomplete memory, a little girl surfaced in Yi Wanwan's mind. The little girl was standing next to a lake with an extremely strict and imposing elderly man standing near her. "Grandpa, Grandpa, I want to see Daddy and Mommy. When will Daddy and Mommy come and pick me up?" the little girl asked timidly. "They won't come," the elderly man replied with a frown as he looked at her. "Why?" the little girl looked wronged. "Because they're already dead." "Liar. Grandpa's a liar. Daddy and Mommy didn't die." "No crying. Crying is the most useless thing. It's an action of the weak." The elderly man harshly reprimanded her. "I don't want. I hate Grandpa. I want Daddy. I want Mommy." The little girl looked pitiful with heartbreak and anguish on her face, tears the size of beans rolling down her face. The elderly man's expression softened, and he picked up the girl in his arms. From today onwards, no one can indulge or protect you. You can only rely on yourself and must learn to grow stronger. Do you understand? I understand. In the end, the little girl headed somewhere in a daze while holding the elderly man's hand. Yi Wanwan felt like her head was splitting. Although this piece of memory appeared out of nowhere, Yi Wanwan was sure the little girl was her young self, and that extremely strict elderly man was her grandfather. The backdrop and architecture in her memory looked Chinese. Judging by the symbolic carved building in the middle of the lake, it must be a little town in City S. In other words, based on this fragmented piece of memory, she and Grandpa were both Chinese. She also learned from Grandpa's words that her real parents were dead already. Yi Wanwan never expected to have such an imposing grandfather, or that her parents both died a long time ago. She didn't know how her parents died. Although this piece of memory was very crisp, it was also very short, so she could only obtain a limited amount of information from it. Chapter 1250. Yi Wanwan originally thought she might not ever remember who she or her family was for the rest of her life. The fragmented memory that showed up just now caught her by complete surprise though. It appeared that as soon as she started doubting her identity and memories, and intensely wanted to remember the past memories that genuinely belonged to her, there was hope for her to retrieve them. Yi Wanwan was very happy to learn that there was still hope for her to retrieve her memories, but it was somewhat hard for her to accept that her parents had passed away already. Her biological parents were gone from this world already, and she didn't know whether her grandfather was still alive or his current location. Yi Wanwan forcefully suppressed her turbulent emotions and waited for the piercing pain in her head to alleviate before driving to the Yi residence again. After exiting the car, Yi Mufan happened to run into Yi Mufan, who had also returned. Yi Mufan placed his car keys in his pockets and swiftly walked over to Yi Wanwan. "Wanwan, how are you?" Yi Mufan quietly asked as he looked at the slightly absent-minded Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan finally returned to the present and gathered her thoughts. She shook her head. "It's nothing. You also heard the news?" "Yeah, Mom just told me. It's weird. Hasn't Yi Shaoan's health always been fine? Why did he die so suddenly?" "Mom told me Yi Shaoan died on his own bed." Yi Mufan had a strange expression. Yi Wanwan was also quite perplexed about this despite much thought. She said, "Let's go inside and ask about the situation." Yi Wanwan and Yi Mufan entered the Yi residence side by side. As soon as Yi Wanwan entered the house, she heard crying. In the living room, second aunt-in-law, Liang Meixian, was sitting in a heap on the floor and looked like she was made out of tears. Yi Yi was also quietly sobbing intermittently, and occasionally comforted Liang Meixian. Yi Hongwei and Tanilan both looked a bit haggard with sorrow brimming in their eyes. "Wanwan Mufan, you're back." Tanilan sighed as she looked at them. "Grandpa, Grandma, what happened?" Second uncle was perfectly fine. "Why did he suddenly?" Yi Mufan asked, feigning grief. In regards to Yi Shaoan's death, Yi Mufan nearly couldn't refrain from congratulating Yi Yi and Liang Meixian. There hadn't been any familial relationship between them for a long time now. In fact, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them enemies. However, they had to follow the process and put on the proper facade on the surface. "EY," Tanilan kept sighing, tears gushing out of her eyes uncontrollably. Although Yi Shaoan was a bit disappointing sometimes, he was still her son. "Mufan, your second uncle was murdered," Yi Shouting told Yi Mufan as he entered the room from the back. "What? He was murdered?" Yi Mufan's face was instantly filled with disbelief when he heard that. Yi Shaoan was murdered on his own bed in the Yi residence. How was that possible? "We don't know if your second uncle offended someone. Maybe it was carried out by the company's competitor," Yi Shouting said. Although Yi Shaoan framed them and wreaked havoc on his family, he was still Yi Shouting's younger brother, and they grew up together. It was unavoidable for him to grieve after learning that his brother, Yi Shaoan, was killed in his own home. Chapter 1251. I want to know. Who murdered Shaoan? I'll end them. Liang Meixian said, inconsolable. Yi Wanwan stood in her spot with a pensive expression. Yi Shaoan getting killed in the Yi residence was truly too fishy. Besides, she hadn't heard about Emperor Sky Entertainment having any bad blood or conflicts with other companies recently. Moreover, companies in the entertainment industry had too many toxic relationships with various parties, and Emperor Sky Entertainment was no exception to that. What kind of deep hatred had to exist for someone to want to end another person's life? Furthermore, Emperor Sky Entertainment had been managed by Yi Yi for both major and minor matters lately, so if they really had bad blood with Emperor Sky Entertainment, they should have killed Yi Yi instead of Yi Shaoan. Mom, we'll definitely find out the truth and avenge Dad. Yi Yi looked anguished and resentful. Father, have you pulled up the surveillance yet? Yi Shouting asked his father Yi Hongwei. I had Steward Huang pull it up. Yi Hongwei looked like he had aged decades in an instant. A cunning glint flashed through Liang Meixuan's eyes when Yi Hongwei mentioned the surveillance. Yi Wanwan managed to catch that brief flash of emotion in Liang Meixuan's eyes. Her brows furrowed deeply instantly. She previously suspected something amiss about Yi Shaoan's death. An ominous feeling rose in her heart when she linked it with the strange emotions in Liang Meixuan's face just now. A moment later, Steward Huang hastily ran into the living room. He first glanced at Yi Mufan and Yi Shouting before turning to look at Yi Hongwei and Tanilan. Sir, madam. The surveillance was intentionally damaged by someone earlier, but its contents were finally recovered after we hired some professional hackers. Good. What did you discover? Yi Hongwei asked. Steward Huang's gaze lingered on Yi Mufan and Yi Shouting before sighing. Sir, you should see for yourself. It's difficult for me to describe this kind of matter. Yi Wanwan's ominous feelings intensified when she saw Steward Huang's gaze and recalled Liang Meixuan's strange emotions earlier. It's an important matter. Quickly tell us already. Liang Meixian angrily shouted at Steward Huang. Bluntly tell us the truth at a time like this. Yi Hongwei also scolded him. Steward Huang looked troubled before finally sighing and saying, It's like this. Based on the contents of the video, 2 nights ago, eldest young master and young master Mufan both loitered outside second young master's room for a bit before finally entering the room. It wasn't until half an hour later that father and son both left second young master's room. When Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan heard this, they looked at each other bewildered. As Steward Huang said, the two of them had indeed returned to the Yi family home 2 nights ago and visited Yi Shaoan. But it was because Yi Shaoan called Yi Shouting that night and said he had something to say to Yi Shouting. And Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan just happened to be together 2 nights ago, so they returned to the Yi residence together. However, when they saw Yi Shaoan was sulkily drinking and appeared to be drunk. Every time he looked like he wanted to say something to Yi Shouting, he hesitated without saying anything. Yi Mufan thought Yi Shaoan definitely didn't have any good intentions, so it wasn't long before he dragged his father away, and they left together. Chapter 1252. Who would have expected Yi Shaoan would die so shortly after? Moreover, what did Steward Huang mean? What are you saying? Yi Mufan looked at Steward Huang and snorted. Could it be that you're saying my dad and I killed second uncle? I didn't say that. Steward Huang glanced at Yi Mufan. Sir asked me about the contents of the surveillance, so I answered honestly. It's you. It must have been you. You harbored a grudge against Shaoan and hated Shaoan for replacing you. You are so cruel. Shaoan was still your brother and uncle. Liang Meixian howled in grief immediately. Bullshit. What the hell does this have to do with me? You can eat shit however you want, but you can't fucking spout shit willy-nilly like this. Yi Mufan shouted indignantly at Liang Meixian. It wouldn't matter if it was anything else, but how could she wildly make a claim like this that involved a human life? Mom, don't talk nonsense. There's no way Uncle and Mufan would do something like that. Yi looked at Liang Meixian and shook her head. No way. What's impossible? Liang Meixian screamed at the top of her lungs. Don't you know how much their family hates your father and hates us? The surveillance footage captured it clearly. Only those two entered your father's room before your father's death. Who else could it have been other than them? Enough. Yi Hongwei glared at them angrily. Dad, you You must find out the truth. Xiaoan died unjustly. You must obtain justice for him, my daughter and me. Liang Meixian sobbed. Yi Mufan turned to look at Yi Mufan and Yi Shouting. Shouting, Mufan, what happened? Dad, it's like this. Yi Xiaoan hastily explained to his father. 2 nights ago, Xiaoan called me and said he had something important to say to me, but couldn't do it over the phone, so he told me to come home. I happened to be with Mufan that night, so we came back together. However, Xiaoan was drunk and delirious at that time. So Mufan and I left right after we helped Xiaoan onto the bed. Something important? Yi Hongwei had a deep frown on his face. Then did Xiaoan say what it was? He didn't since he was drunk. Yi Shouting shook his head. However, Xiaoan didn't look like he was in a good mood, as though there was something heavy weighing on his mind. He looked like he wanted to say something to us several times, but he swallowed back his words every time. You're concocting a cock-and-bull story. Liang Meixian shouted angrily. Xiaoan has been in a great mood the last few days. It's nothing like you said. Haha, second uncle's corpse is still here. It's not like the alcohol level in his body can't be tested. Yi Mufan snorted. It must have been you too. You purposefully got Xiaoan drunk, then murdered him while he was drunk and couldn't resist. Liang Meixian sharply shrieked. Meixian! You can't run your mouth off about this kind of matter. Tanilan instantly stood up looking displeased. Shouting is my son. How could I not know his character as his mother? No matter how much of a scoundrel he was before, he wouldn't be so wicked that he'd kill his own brother. We'll look at the surveillance. Yi Hongwei stood up and told Steward Huang. Yes, sir. Steward Huang nodded and led everyone toward the surveillance room. Chapter 1253. In the surveillance footage, Yi Mufan and Yi Shouting entered Yi Xiaoan's room together late that night. They stayed there for about half an hour. Then they left Yi Xiaoan's room. Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan didn't deny that it was them in the footage. Until several minutes later, the backs of Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan appeared in the video again without revealing their faces. However, their clothes, as well as their physiques and heights, were identical to the duo from earlier. There was a knife in each person's hand, and a faint trace of blood could still be seen on the blade from the surveillance. Ah, Xiaoan, you died so tragically. Liang Meixian burst into tears at this scene in a rather emotional state. She looked like she was about to pounce on Yi Mufan and Yi Shouting and beat them with everything she had, but she was pulled back by Steward Huang. You too. Yi Hongwei's face switched from red to pale as he pointed at his son and grandson, his body shaking from his anger. As for Tan Yilan, her eyes rolled to the back of her head, and she fainted. Yi Shouting was frozen on the spot. Although the 2 people who appeared in the video a few minutes later didn't look any different from him and his son, it absolutely wasn't them. Grandpa, this isn't Dad and me. We've obviously been framed. Yi Mufan immediately protested. Yi Mufan was also sent into a panic momentarily. This was his first time encountering this type of situation. Yi Wanwan was standing and meticulously examining the contents of the surveillance footage. In truth, there weren't any holes in this footage. Aside from the fact that the 2 people who appeared a few minutes later hadn't revealed their faces, they were identical to her father and brother. Moreover, in the first few minutes of the footage, Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan revealed their faces already, so it wasn't important whether the imposters showed their faces or not. Almost instantly, Yi Wanwan knew what was going on. This was a secret plot that had been brewing for a long time. From their build and stature to their height and their posture when they walked, it was completely identical to that of Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan. This was a meticulously premeditated plot. What was more terrifying was that Yi Shouting and Yi Mufan visited the crime scene and entered Yi Xiaoan's room together. Moreover, they had enough motivation and ability to commit this crime. It was Yi Xiaoan's family who stole everything from Yi Shouting. Logically speaking, this type of motive was enough to commit a crime. Furthermore, as soon as Yi Xiaoan died, everything would belong to Yi Shouting once again. Yi Wanwan didn't say anything. The contents of the surveillance footage were nearly rock solid. There weren't any flaws, and she didn't need to continue watching it. In the surveillance footage, after Yi Shouting, and Yi Mufan killed Yi Shaoan, they tossed their weapons into the pond at the Yi residence. Yi Wanwan hypothesized that this action was intentional. Without any surprise, Yi Xiaoting and Yi Mufan's fingerprints would be on the weapons. Yi Wanwan knew full well that there wasn't any point to explaining more. Her only option was to wait, see and discover the true culprit and mastermind to clear her father and brother's names. Otherwise, the consequences were too horrible to imagine. Yi Wanwan secretly surveyed Liang Meixian, Steward Huang, and Yi Yi. From her previous life, Yi Wanwan knew Yi Yi was actually Liang Meixian and Steward Huang's daughter. Chapter 1254. From her previous life, Yi Wanwan knew Yi Yi was actually Liang Meixian and Steward Huang's daughter. Liang Meixian and Steward Huang had maintained an illicit affair for many years. Now that Yi Shaoan died, who was the biggest benefactor? Logically speaking, it would be Yi Xiaoting. Of course, that was if this surveillance footage didn't exist. However, due to the existence of this surveillance footage, once Yi Xiaoting and Yi Mufan were determined to be the murderers, then the biggest benefactors would become Liang Meixian, Steward Huang, and Yi Yi. The entire Yi family would belong to them, and nothing would threaten them ever again. This loving family would take over the Yi family completely, and push Yi Xiaoting and Yi Mufan off a cliff without any room to reverse their fates. In her previous life, Yi Shaoan eventually discovered Yi Yi was Liang Meixian and Steward Huang's bastard and flew into a thunderous rage. But in this life, perhaps due to Yi Wanwan's rebirth, it created a supposed butterfly effect. When she analyzed Yi Xiaoting's story, Yi Shaoan probably discovered Liang Meixian and Steward Huang's affair ahead of time, due to a multitude of reasons, and learned Yi Yi wasn't his biological daughter. That was why he drank himself into a stupor. Second aunt, you are second uncle's wife. Where were you on that night? Yi Wanwan suddenly asked Liang Meixian. Liang Meixian grew infuriated instantly. What do you mean? Meixian, where were you? Yi Hongwei's gaze landed on Liang Meixian. Dad, I was at a friend's house playing mahjong all night long that day. If you don't believe me, you can ask my friends. Liang Meixian said. Yi Wanwan's lips minutely turned up with an icy smile when she heard that. Yi Shaoan's death had an inescapable connection with Liang Meixian and Steward Huang. Killing Yi Shaoan probably also wasn't a last-minute decision, and they developed a full-blown plan ahead of time. Hence, Liang Meixian and her co-conspirators definitely all had an alibi. It would be suspicious otherwise. Call the police. Hurry and call the police. Liang Meixian urged Steward Huang in haste. When Tan Dilan, who had just woken up, heard that, she immediately tried to stop them. The matter hasn't been investigated clearly yet. Don't call the police. She only had 2 sons. Now that her second son, Yi Shaoan, was dead. If it was really her first son, Yi Xiaoting, and grandson Yi Mufan, who killed her second son, she would lose all of her sons and sole grandson as soon as they called the police. Mom, the whole truth has been revealed already. Shaoan was killed by this evil father and son. Liang Meixian shouted. Liang Meixian disregarded all inhibitions and called the police herself. Yi Hongwei didn't say anything. His face was haggard and pale. Soon, policemen arrived at the Yi family residence and found the murder weapons based on the surveillance footage. After running some tests, the murder weapons were teeming with Yi Xiaoting and Yi Mufan's fingerprints, as Yi Wanwan guessed. Soon the policemen took the murder weapons surveillance video, Yi Xiaoting, and Yi Mufan away. Yi Mufan originally wanted to resist, but gave in when he saw Yi Wanwan covertly shaking her head at him. Immediately after, Yi Wanwan and her mother, Liang Wanjun, were kicked out of the Yi residence by Steward Huang and Liang Meixian. Liang Wanjun was in an utter state of panic. No matter what, she couldn't believe that her husband and son were murderers. Wanwan, what should we do? How did all this happen? Liang Wanjun was trembling and was at a complete loss. Mom, don't worry. You know Dad and Brother's characters. They absolutely wouldn't do something like this. I'll investigate it clearly. Yi Wanwan kept comforting Liang Wanjun. After escorting Liang Wanjun home and completely pacifying her mother, Yi Wanwan left and secretly set up camp near the Yi residence. The mother and daughter pair managed to keep their calm. It wasn't until several days later that Liang Meixian finally left the Yi residence, but she remained vigilant and kept surveying her surroundings. Yi Wanwan smiled when she saw that. As long as she was the culprit, then she would eventually give herself away. Chapter 1255. Liang Meixian quickly left the Yi residence in her car. However, Yi Wanwan didn't follow her and remained outside the Yi residence. As expected, Steward Huang also came out of the Yi residence several hours later and drove away. Yi Wanwan closely followed him at once. A moment later, Steward Huang arrived at some common hotel. People like Steward Huang and Liang Meixian had a reputation and knew quite a few people, so they were probably afraid to be found out. Every time they met up, they booked some small, ordinary hotel. Yi Wanwan secretly followed behind Steward Huang the whole time. With her current skills in martial arts, someone like Steward Huang naturally didn't detect her. After seeing that Steward Huang entered a room on the 3rd floor, Yi Wanwan booked a room next to them. Yi Wanwan changed into a different outfit after entering the neighboring room. Then she leaped onto the balcony of Liang Meixian and Steward Huang's room from the balcony of her room. The distance between the two rooms' balconies was a bit far. It was difficult for normal people to cross and was a recipe for danger, but it was nothing to Yi Wanwan. Hee hee baby, our good days are coming. Steward Huang's voice traveled out of the room as Yi Wanwan hid on the balcony. You old pervert. That's right, is that brother of yours reliable? Liang Meixian asked. Of course he's reliable. He's my close childhood friend, and we grew up together. He later entered a powerful faction. Not too long ago, a junior head of that powerful faction died, so my brother finally promoted a junior head. Otherwise, how could we have accomplished this so easily? Steward Huang snickered. I've had enough of that spineless coward, Yi Shaoan. Now that Yi Shaoan is dead and Yi Shouting and that little bastard are arrested, isn't the Yi family ours? Those two old geezers still have a few years to live, but they can only hand the Yi family to Yi and me. Once the Yi family ends up in our hands, you can finally come out in the daylight, Liang Meixian said. Of course. Yi is our daughter. Those idiots probably never would have expected the entire Yi family would end up in the hands of us 3 outsiders who have 0 blood ties to the Yi family. Quick, enough talking. I'm dying from impatience. Old thing slower. Yi Wanwan stood on the balcony and listened to the insufferable sounds coming from the room, her brows involuntarily knitting together. These two people probably thought everything was settled conclusively after so much time had passed, so they relaxed and came out to have a rendezvous. However, they were both very cautious and didn't mention killing Yi Shaoan at all. Even if she recorded them, it would merely prove that Yi wasn't Yi Shaoan's daughter, and Liang Meixian had an illicit relationship with Steward Huang at most. About 15 minutes later, Liang Meixian's voice was heard again. Oh right, there's still Yi Wanwan. That little cunt is also a real piece of work. Don't worry, I made arrangements ahead of time, Steward Huang snorted. Yi Wanwan's eyes glinted when she heard that. It appeared those two people wanted to harm her too. Half an hour later, Steward Huang and Liang Meixian both left the hotel, and Yi Wanwan also checked out from her room. It wouldn't be easy to obtain evidence of Steward Huang and Liang Meixian hiring hitmen to kill Yi Shaoan. After Yi Wanwan left the hotel, she went home to stay with her mother for a few days. Liang Wanjuan's mood had been quite down the past few days. Thankfully, Yi Wanwan was with her still. Otherwise, Liang Wanjun would have completely broken down already. Chapter 1256. That night, Yi Wanwan got a call from Su Yi. Miss Wanwan, something happened at the Si family. Su Yi's voice sounded urgent over the phone. An indescribable glint flickered through Yi Wanwan's eyes. It was within her expectations that something big would eventually happen in the Si family, but she didn't expect it to come so soon. That bastard seemingly came back. The higher-ups of the clan all jumped ship, and are supporting seemingly to be the patriarch of the Si family. Old Madam's health is also growing worse and worse. Sui continued. I understand. It'll be hard to explain over the phone. Come to my place and let's talk, Yi Wanwan suggested. Okay. Sui agreed and hung up. Late at night, Yuan walked to the parking garage. She took a few steps and detected something amiss. Hee, Miss Yi, where are you going? Suddenly, a middle-aged man walked out from the dark with at least a dozen men in black behind him. Upon seeing this unfavorable situation, Yuan immediately turned around and escaped from the parking garage. Steward Huang previously said he would take care of her. She thought it would be similar to how they framed Yi Xiaoting and Yi Mufan. She didn't expect them to hire hitmen to kill her. Heh, can you escape? The leader snorted and gestured at the people behind him. Soon, 4 cars started together and chased after Yuan. It was late at night right now, and they were in the remote suburbs to begin with, so there weren't any cars or pedestrians around them. The 4 cars chased after Yuan without any caution. At the same time, the bright moon hung high in the night sky and a light breeze swept across the night. A dozen or so tall and strong men were slowly walking down the road. These men who looked vicious and sinister, all uniformly wearing white t-shirts with "Fearless" in cursive written imposingly on the back of the t-shirt. Treat life and death lightly. Kill them if you're unsatisfied. I, your father, am fearless. Hehe. All hail the Fearless Alliance. Those strong men kept repeating some odd slogan. Say bro, we've been kicked out of the Fearless Alliance. Why do we keep chanting the slogan we used when we were first entered the Fearless Alliance? A bald man asked, turning to their leader. What about it? From the moment we joined the Fearless Alliance, we're members of the Fearless Alliance now, whether we're alive or dead. Even though we were kicked out of the Fearless Alliance, it's just humiliation from being fired from the Fearless Alliance. What about it? Why can't we use their slogan? The leader snorted. Say bro, the commotion caused by this matter. A while ago, the higher-ups of the Fearless Alliance made us exterminate a patrician family, without leaving any people behind. We wiped out everyone in that patrician family except for a wolf dog that fled fast enough. As elites of the Fearless Alliance, we couldn't possibly chase after a dog to kill it, right? But just because we let a dog go, they said we did a bad job and erased our names from the Fearless Alliance. The leader was also at a loss for words. That's right, they were expelled from the Fearless Alliance because of a dog. Enough nonsense. Don't make me kill you with a slap. The leader looked like he was in internal turmoil. I had to bring up this nonsense, bro. After we were kicked out of the Fearless Alliance, the independent state also kicked us out. A few twists and turns later, we arrived in China. Isn't China's martial arts scene lagging too far behind? There aren't any factions like the Martial Arts Union here. How are we going to survive now? Chapter 1257. The leader sighed immediately. What a shame that Fearless Alliance's boss, Bro Flat Top, disappeared a few years ago. Now the Fearless Alliance is in decline already, which is why the Alliance is holding its members to stricter and stricter standards. If Boss was here, she definitely wouldn't care whether we released a dog or not. The leader looked gloomy. Bro, rumors say that the boss of our Fearless Alliance is a girl who's also rather young. It's a pity that Boss disappeared by the time we entered the Fearless Alliance. Bro, I'm really curious how a girl managed to create the Fearless Alliance and turn it into a powerful faction that strikes terror into the hearts of the people of the independent state. How did she do it? Legend says that Boss is 7 or 8 feet tall and can hold up people standing on her arm. She lusts after blood and has a passion for beautiful men. Is that all true? Another man asked, full of curiosity. The leader snorted when he heard that. Screw off, you punk. Have you watched too many movies? 7 or 8 feet tall. You're talking about aliens. The man wanted to retort when a large, blinding light came from the front. The strong men also looked forward and saw a girl with extraordinary looks and nimble agility running on the road with 7 or 8 cars wildly chasing behind her. Ah, look at her. She's going on an evening jog so late at night. She must be rich. She even has a team of cars escorting her, the leader commented. Of course, bro. Look at that girl, her figure, her face. Tut-tut, it'd be too dangerous for her to go on an evening jog so late at night, but it wouldn't be a problem if there are 7 or 8 cars escorting her. Another man vehemently nodded in agreement. Say, why do I feel like that face is a bit familiar? When we first joined the Fearless Alliance and swore in front of the president's face. Look, doesn't that girl look a bit similar to our president? How's it similar? Our Fearless Alliance's president disappeared a fucking long time ago. Who knew where she went to party for so many years? Maybe she partied herself to death. Moreover, our president's portrait is so young. This girl is a bit more mature and yeah, a lot prettier too. Wait. A man exclaimed in surprise. Why are those cars faster than that girl? This doesn't feel right. The leader carefully examined the scene before snorting. What the fuck do you know? That girl must be arousing the potential in her body and making the drivers drive on her tail, so she can run even faster. Are you dumb? Why do I feel like that car is about to hit her? One of the men looked perplexed. As he said that, the leading car quickly raised its speed and drove toward Yuanwan. At that moment, Yuanwan could feel the brush of death as though she would be rolled over by the car behind her in the next second. Yuanwan's mind turned blank, but for some reason, her body reacted instinctively. Yuanwan's leg kicked back and purposefully slammed into that car. Then her entire body tilted forward, and she used the car's power to leap forward, instantly putting distance between them like a leopard in Africa's grasslands. Yuanwan's figure rolled slightly to the side in the air, and landed on the ground like a nimble butterfly. Chapter 1258. What a good move. Donkey roll. One of the men couldn't help clapping and hollering. Fuck. That's a fucking secret move of our Fearless Alliance's president, Tiger Pounce. The leader was full of shock and disbelief. The leading man had been in the Fearless Alliance longer than the other men, so he knew some snippets of information about the president. Especially regarding this move, the Tiger Pounce. Legend said that the president fought with a ferocious tiger in her teens. After killing the tiger, she learned this move, so this move was developed by the president herself. The president defeated countless experts with this move alone. Shit. Could this person be our missing president? The leader was incredulous and swiftly dashed toward the cars without waiting for the other men to respond. Upon seeing someone charging forward, the cars were forced to stop. Do you fucking want to die? Get lost. I'm gonna run over you if you don't. The driver cursed at the man while peeking his head out. Fuck you. The leader was enraged and slapped the driver's face immediately. With a loud bang, the driver fainted. Upon seeing this, the doors of all the cars opened, and a dozen or so men in black exited the cars. You have helpers? These men in black naturally thought these people who appeared out of nowhere were Yuanwan's helpers, so they didn't ask anything further, and surrounded the strong man in an instant. Oh look, you have a backbone. How many days has it been since I've trained? The lead man sneered and looked at them like they were his prey. Let us help. Soon, the other strong men also swiftly ran up, itching to give it a try. Shoo shoo shoo. They're all mine. No one can steal from me. The leading strong man shook his head. Seeing the strong men's antics, the men in black were infuriated. However, Yuanwan's expression shifted when she saw the man's martial arts skills. She thought she was very strong already, but in contrast to this man, she was like the dirt to his clouds. Was he still human? The strong man fought a dozen or so people all by himself. About 7 minutes later, howls of pain and the sounds of bones cracking and skin breaking rippled through the men. Quick run. Soon, the men in black fled to their cars with terrified expressions, lamenting their parents for not giving them 2 extra legs, and they disappeared without a trace. Thank you. When she saw the men in black retreating, Yuanwan walked forward and gave her thanks to the strong men. Be bro. The strong men's leader was full of excitement when he saw Yuanwan. You're bro Flat Top, right? You're the boss of our Fearless Alliance, right? Bro, where have you been all these years? Bro, you went home to visit your parents back then, and went missing without a word afterward. The Fearless Alliance has gone through great strife to look for you. Quickly come back with us. Bro, we were expelled from the Fearless Alliance already. Another strong man quietly reminded him. The strong men's leader started when he heard that. Oh right, that's true. Boss, you have to give us justice. The Fearless Alliance's higher-ups gave us a mission to exterminate a patrician family without leaving anyone alive. We extinguished the whole family. It's just that the family's dog fled too freaking fast, so we didn't catch it. And they kicked us out of the Fearless Alliance just because of that. Ever since you left, the gang has been a complete mess. We've been through so much bitterness. Those higher-ups are clearly targeting us. The leader sniffled and sobbed. Yuan was dumbfounded. What the hell is this? Chapter 1259 Fearless Alliance. Why does this name sound familiar? Yuan pondered it, and recalled how she talked to Mr. Mu extensively due to her great interest in the independent state. Back then, Mr. Mu mentioned the Fearless Alliance was the faction you wanted to provoke the least in the independent state. The Fearless Alliance was a terrifying faction that was filled with experts in the independent state. The leader was a girl, but she was called Bro Flattop in the outside world. She was very mysterious, and outsiders had never seen Bro Flattop's true appearance. Any faction that offended the Fearless Alliance would be eradicated without a single survivor remaining, not even a chicken. Yuan was very curious back then about why their boss nickname was Bro Flattop, and the metaphorical meaning behind it. Later, she learned that Bro Flattop was referring to an animal in the grasslands of Africa. Its common name was honey badger. Since the heads of honey badgers were fairly smooth and looked like flat tops from the distance, people called honey badgers Bro Flattop. When Yuan first saw the name honey badger, she thought it was some cute little animal. It wasn't until she looked it up that she realized how vicious this creature was. Although there was a tuft of white fur on the top of its head, and it looked very adorable, it was listed as the world's most fearless animal. These creatures didn't fear any kind of animals, and their favorite thing to do was stir trouble. They provoked lions and tigers and ate poisonous snakes like spicy strips. If they weren't fighting, then they were on their way to a fight. There wasn't any zoo in the world that could enclose them. They were different from other cave animals who liked to stay home. They made tunnels and caves but didn't like to stay home. They liked to run everywhere and seek thrills. There was logic in the saying, the poor fear the unreasonable fear the dense, and the dense fear the fearless. Even though the honey badgers themselves didn't have a large figure, most animals avoided them vehemently because honey badgers liked to take risks, were fearless, could seriously hold grudges, and were immune to poison. Even the large, ferocious animals at the top of the food chain detested them especially, and feared provoking them the most. Hence, based on this nickname alone, she could wager the kind of troublesome character that was the boss of the Fearless Alliance. However, these dozen or so strong men with bald heads were claiming they were members of the vicious and heinous faction of the independent state, the Fearless Alliance. They even said she was the boss of the Fearless Alliance. Was she dreaming? Or was there a screw loose in these people's heads? Boss, allow us to explain. We were forced to leave the independent state and come to China. Take us back with you. We want to rejoin the Fearless Alliance and stay by your side, boss. The leader plopped onto the ground and latched onto Yuan's calf, unwilling to let go. Boss, take us back to Fearless Alliance. The other strong men also pleaded while shedding tears. Yuan was bewildered. What's going on? Boss, we guarantee we'll complete our mission without any mishaps from now on. Take us back to the Fearless Alliance. The strong men all looked at Yuan pleadingly. I'm sorry. You've mistaken me for someone else, Yuan said after examining the men in front of her for a moment. Although Yuan knew her original memories were erased by Si Yihan already, and were forcefully supplanted with Yuan's memories, she was sure she didn't hold any connection to the independent state, and had nothing to do with the nefarious Fearless Alliance. Chapter 1260. Based on the memory that surfaced in her mind, she and Grandpa were Chinese, and Grandpa clearly told her that her parents passed away already. However, this man just said the boss of the Fearless Alliance, Bro Flattop, disappeared after going home and visiting her parents in the independent state. Bro Flattop's parents were still alive whereas her parents were dead already, according to what Grandpa said. Hence, there was no way she was Bro Flattop. Boss. You're our boss. The leader hugged Yi Wanwan's thigh, unwilling to let go. You really mistook me as someone else. I'm Chinese. Plus, my parents passed away already, and I only have a grandfather. You said your boss went missing after going home and visiting her parents in the independent state. But my parents passed away, so that doesn't add up at all. Yi Wanwan glanced at the man with an exasperated expression. That's right. See bro, how could this girl be Fearless Alliance's boss, bro Flat Top? Their presences don't match at all. If she was really boss bro Flat Top, there's no way she couldn't take care of those cars and need our help. A man piped up. Boss, you must be lying to us, right? The man hugging Yi Wanwan's leg seemed unwilling to give up. I'm really not lying to you. I'm telling the complete truth, Yi Wanwan said with a sigh. Could it be, we're really mistaken? Confusion flickered through the leader's eyes as he frowned. But if this girl wasn't boss bro Flat Top from the independent state's Fearless Alliance, then why did she know bro Flat Top's original move? Then what's up with the tiger pounce you used earlier? Did I see things wrong because it's too dark? The leader mumbled while looking at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan was startled when she heard that. She merely instinctively reacted when she was nearly hit by the car. It was nowhere near as mystic as the man claimed. Tiger pounce? She even elephant sat. Bro, I don't think that was tiger pounce. You must have seen wrong because it's dark. Moreover, this girl might bear some resemblance to boss bro Flat Top. But there are differences when you take a closer look. She can't be bro Flat Top. What kind of person is bro Flat Top? Who would dare to run over and kill bro Flat Top? We can casually kill those pieces of trash with a single finger. Yet you think they wanted to kill bro Flat Top? You're kidding, right? One of the men expressed his thoughts. Yi Wanwan smiled helplessly. She was saying they were mistaken earlier. It appeared she was right. The leader pondered over it for a moment before nodding and saying, there's some reason to your words. Why would bro Flat Top come all the way to China? Also, with our bro Flat Top's talent in martial arts, there's no way she'd be chased by a group of trash. Soon, the leader released Yi Wanwan's calf, seeming to finally accept reality. They merely saved a normal girl from China. Maybe they wanted to return to the Fearless Alliance too much, so they mistakenly thought Yi Wanwan was boss bro Flat Top. Forget it. It looks like I really mistook you for someone else. What a waste of my feelings. The leader stood up and looked at Yi Wanwan with a sigh. Chapter 1261. 1261. Anyway, thank you for your help. Yi Wanwan expressed her thanks to these men again. Although those cars wouldn't have caused any genuine harm to her even if this man didn't act, it would have still been hard work for her to take care of men in black herself. Little miss, you're lucky you ran into us. Remember, don't go on night jogs by yourself in the middle of the night next time. There's a lot of bad people out there. The strong men's leader meaningfully lectured her with an elder's tone. Yi Wanwan merely nodded and didn't reply. These strong men probably weren't good people either. One of them mentioned they were expelled from the Fearless Alliance because they didn't completely accomplish a mission given by a higher-up in the Fearless Alliance. They extinguished an entire patrician family, but allowed that family's dog to escape. These strong men probably had quite a few lives on their hands too. After thanking the men again, Yi Wanwan called a taxi and rushed to the little house of Rose. During the taxi ride, Yi Wanwan had a deep frown on her face. Too many things happened lately. The Yi family, the C family, and herself. The only thing she got out of it was that traces of her original memories kept popping up in her mind. Although these memories were incomplete, they were very clear. Besides Grandpa, Yi Wanwan also vaguely recalled some scenes at a school setting. However, the school in her memory was vastly different from a normal school. There was fighting as well as blood and constant anguished wailing. These memories were incomplete though, and she could only remember a small portion of them. Yi Wanwan was now more curious about her background and the type of person her extremely imposing grandfather was, as well as how her parents died. Everything was like a hazy fog, but the more Yi Wanwan wanted to brush away this fog, the deeper she sank into it. She couldn't see anything clearly. Currently, the best solution would be to find Si Yihan and make him tell her the truth. Who was she? Who was her grandfather? Why did Si Yihan leave the Si family without a word and go to the independent state? As long as she found Si Yihan, the whole truth would surface. However, a thornier problem was the matter with the Yi family. Her father and brother's case were filed and being investigated, so if she couldn't find the true culprit and discover concrete evidence that proved Liang Meixian and Steward Huang were the true masterminds, she was afraid. Even if she wasn't Yi Wanwan, she couldn't ignore her family's matters since she considered them her family. Even if she wasn't Yi Wanwan, she wouldn't deny the time she spent with them and her feelings toward them during this period of time. As soon as she recalled how the real Yi Wanwan was dead already, she still felt guilty toward her brother and parents even though she hadn't intentionally pretended to be Yi Wanwan. Her feud with Liang Meixian and Steward Huang was irreversibly established this time. Yi Wanwan never expected Steward Huang to hire killers to kill her. Soon, the taxi arrived at Little House of Rose, and Yi Wanwan left through the back after paying. Su Yi had been waiting outside of the Little House of Rose. He walked up as soon as Yi Wanwan exited the car. Miss Wanwan, did something happen? Su Yi called Yi Wanwan several times, but none of his calls were picked up, so he was slightly worried. I was hindered by some minor matters. Let's head inside first. Yi Wanwan led Su Yi inside the Little House of Rose. Chapter 1262. Yi Wanwan poured a glass of water for Su Yi in the living room and frankly asked, "What's the Si family's current situation?" Su Yi placed down his cup and looked at Yi Wanwan, sighing. "Miss Wanwan, to tell you the truth, I knew something major would happen in the Si family, ever since Ninth Master disappeared. Too many people were defiant of Ninth Master. People didn't dare to act impetuously when Ninth Master was here, so everything was calm. But after Ninth Master disappeared, it's like a volcano has erupted and things can't be fixed." Yi Wanwan understood what Su Yi was saying. Many higher-ups of the Si family feared Si Yihan, so Si Yihan was able to suppress them when he was here. However, Si Yihan had disappeared for many days without a single word. His fate was still known, as though he had disappeared into thin air. The Si family previously mobilized a large amount of manpower and financial resources to search for Si Yihan without any success. Now many higher-ups of the Si family thought an accident happened to Si Yihan. There wouldn't be zero news of him otherwise. Si Mingli and his family returned earlier. Quite a number of higher-ups in the clan support Si Mingli's bid to become the new patriarch of the Si family. The minority who disagreed didn't end up well. Su Yi's brows were deeply furrowed. Yi Wanwan wasn't surprised about this. Si Mingli fled from China out of his fear of Si Yihan. Now that Si Yihan disappeared with his fate unknown, Si Mingli had nothing to fear anymore. So he took advantage of this prime opportunity to return to the Si family and overturn the Si family. "How's grandmother?" Yi Wanwan asked. Even without Si Yihan, grandmother's prestige in the Si family was immense, so she should be able to suppress those higher-ups for a short amount of time. Sigh. Su Yi sighed at the mention of grandmother. Her situation doesn't look too good. She hasn't woken up yet. Yi Wanwan's expression turned serious when she heard that. Based on what Su Yi said, the current Si family was wrought with both internal and external trouble. What was most fatal was the changing internal structure of the Si family. The higher-ups who originally sided with Si Yihan were nearly all eliminated. After Si Mingli returned to the Si family, he obtained support from a majority of the higher-ups and gave those higher-ups extremely tempting terms. Si Yihan's staunch loyalists moved to the opposition. Moreover, the opposers who had unyielding attitudes and vehemently opposed Si Mingli all disappeared without a trace one day ago, their fates unknown. However, Su Yi knew full well that those opposers who were loyal to Si Yihan, as well as the higher-ups who wanted to fight for the position of the patriarch, were all secretly dealt with by Si Mingli. "Miss Wanwan, the situation with the Si family is too dangerous. I want to find an opportunity to extract old madam from the Si residence," Su Yi said with a sigh. Yi Wanwan frowned lightly and said, "Since things are like that, I'll go back to the Si residence with you and bring grandmother to my place here." Grandmother would definitely be in danger after Si Mingli took control of the Si family. Su Yi promptly shook his head at her suggestion. "Miss Wanwan, you can't. You absolutely can't. Seemingly hates you to the bone. Seemingly is already in control of the C family now. It's too risky for you to return to the C family right now. At that time, even you won't leave unharmed, let alone taking old madam away. Yi Wanwan didn't refute Su Yi's words. She knew her enmities with Seemingly. Seemingly probably hated her to the bone. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.